Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. It is the same day as the last episode. It is quite literally an hour later. We are filming another episode just because we felt like it. But anyways, welcome to this other episode of ADD Attention Deficit Discourse. My name is Ray.
I'm Kevin. This is episode
And
number 12, our first dozen episode.
whoop, whoop, look at us go. And we've made zero money. So tell your friends to support us because, we're brown people. And we're deserving of success and I was gonna say fame. I don't want fame. Money. Yeah, today we're gonna talk about a lot of random stuff. But the first one being customer service jobs because before we were unemployed and
When we were
before we
much younger,
when we were younger, we each had jobs working customer service. Did you only work at Target as your customer service job?
no, I worked at the library as well. We can go
That's
into
not that
that
bad.
more.
That's not
I
that
worked
bad.
at a
And that's a college
library.
library. Come
That is
on,
true.
man.
I worked with kids.
You're not gonna get
Are they
Karens
customers?
at UCSD
Um,
at
Worked
the
at Target.
library.
Yeah, I think those are my only ones. At the library, yeah, that's it. But yeah, as Ray pointed out, we both had to work when we were younger, right? Because our families were broke. But growing up, going to college, going to grad school, most of the people I met up with never worked in their life before.
Yeah, I think
Isn't that
that's
crazy?
crazy.
Like
When
when
I
we were in
talked
college,
with
we had to
someone and
do
I
work
asked,
study, right? We
yeah,
had
I
to
asked
work
someone what her
through
first job
college.
was, and she said her first job was as a PhD student. That was her first time
No.
working and getting paid. That's crazy.
And that's like what, in the mid 20s, right? Late 20s,
Yeah, yeah,
early
mid
20s.
20s. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Early slash mid.
yeah, I started working 18, 17. I can't remember when I got that Target job.
I was 14,
You were 14 when you
illegally
were working.
working. I was
I
working in a
know,
snack
crazy.
bar. And then I was 16
Technically,
when I got my
technically, I
job at
was
it.
working when I was like a little kid because my mom worked at a sweatshop and she would bring home literally a mountain of clothing and I would just have to do a single job like invert pockets or something like that. So me and my five siblings would gather around this mound of clothing and we would just invert pockets.
But did you get paid?
No, we didn't get paid. We were
So
doing it
then
for our
no,
mom.
that's
So we were
that's
helping our mom, right?
that's
So
not child labor if you're not getting paid, as you like to
dude, you
say.
sound yeah, you sound just like my
You
bro.
love to say, no,
It
I
ain't
sound just
child
like you.
labor.
Kevin
It
used to
ain't
bring
child
his
labor
kids
if
to
you don't
work on
get
the
paid.
weekends and make them do stuff that they didn't even need to do. He was just doing it for love of the game. And then we would say, oh man, you're exploiting those poor little kids, making them work child labor. And he'd say, it's not child labor if they don't get paid.
That's right, 100%. But they loved it. I just wanted to instill into them an
They did not love it. They
appreciation
said, please,
of
Papa,
working.
we'd rather be at home playing with our Switch. We
You
would
always got to
love
have
to
a
be.
British accent.
I'm starving. And you'd say, you get a cheese it.
No
One
way.
singular cheese it. And that's it, little guy.
Got to split it among the
You
three of
maybe I'll
you.
give you some red 40 if you do another hour of labor, but for now, get back to work. Stop staring. Don't look me in the eye. Only call me sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Papa. Yeah, sir, please. That's another hour. No red 40 for you, little Timmy. Please.
Enjoy your white bread. No red bread.
Only crust. No middle part. Yeah, I worked at Ralph's when I was 16, and for the most part, I was gonna say I liked it, but I'm a liar. It was so freaking boring because I just bagged groceries, and when there's no customers, you have to wait. But it was really fun at night because it was entertaining. People are
Wait,
weird.
so when you were bagging stuff, you didn't have smartphones at the
I
time,
did, but
so
you
you
can't go
can.
on your phone.
Oh, so you just have to stand around and
Yeah, you literally
small talk with
stand.
the cashier,
Yeah, but some of the cashiers were really,
standoffish.
what's the word? Like there was this one guy, he was incredibly creepy and I
Um,
never liked to work with. I remember exactly what he looks like. Like I said, if I could draw, I could draw his face
can you
because
define creepy so that dude listeners to this
so
show will understand not to be creepy?
okay, so I was 16, right? Everyone knew I was 16 because you have You're not allowed to stay past, I think, 10 on school
Okay.
nights. I could be wrong about the
Reasonable.
time,
Still
but
pretty late, but
still pretty
reasonable.
late. But some days I would stay late if they were really desperate. And they would tell me like, we're not allowed to do this. Is this okay with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And especially like Fridays, it was usually okay to do that because it's going into a weekend. But I would stay later, like till 12, I think, pretty frequently. But there was this guy, I won't say his name, even though I was just about to say it. And he was really creepy. And the reason I say that is because so you know what Snapchat is, right?
Uh-huh.
He'd
It's where
be
you send
like,
message and disappears after a little bit
yeah, it's a
time.
picture or like a video or whatever. And he'd be like, do you have Snapchat? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, add me on Snapchat. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna add you on Snapchat. That's weird. He'd be like, why is it weird? We're friends, right? Are we not friends? And I'm like, no, dude, you're a 30-year-old man who's married. Like, I'm freaking 16. I was like, no, I'm not adding you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then he was so insistent and it was so weird. And one day, and he would take off his ring when he got to work too, and he would
What?
flirt. He would flirt with customers.
What?
He would flirt with two of my coworkers reported him to HR because he was
Oh
so
man.
creepy. And one day he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, blah blah." And I would just be cordial with him, but I thought he was weird and I tried to not talk to him as best as I could. And he'd
Hmm.
be like, "Did you just add me on Snapchat?" And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I think someone just added me on Snapchat, like little brown cutie. Was that you? And I'm like,
Oh,
no.
that's creepy.
I was like,
You
no. And
trying
he's
to
like, he was trying to get me to be like, no, that's not my name on Snapchat. My name is this. Like, I don't know how stupid he thought I was.
uh-huh.
But yeah, he was like, was that
Oh,
not
so he's trying
you?
to flirt with you that
And
way. He said, "Little brown cutie."
I don't know, but he was weird, dude. And then I was
Oh,
like,
that is kind of
no,
weird.
that's not my Snapchat. And he was like, oh, what is your Snapchat name? And I went, and then I walked away because I was like, dude, you're weird. And
But wouldn't
then
you still have to approve it if they know your Snapchat name?
I think, yeah, you'd have to add them back, or I
Okay.
could just block him. But
Yeah,
I
right.
was like, dude, I'm not adding you. And then my other coworker, she came to me and she was like, dude, blah blah's so weird, and he's married. And then she told me that she went to HR about him because he was just like really, really, really weird. And then he came to me one day and he's like, did you report me to HR? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you know who did? And I was like, no. And he was like, I think blah, 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 which was my friend. He was like,
Uh-huh.
I think she reported me. And I was like, I don't know. And then I just like walked away. But he was weird. Customers, I feel like weren't so bad, but there were some random ones, like this guy who was insisting that there's like ketchup flavored chicken nuggets.
Uh-huh.
And he was asking me to show him the ketchup flavored chicken nuggets. And I was like, I don't think that exists, sir. And he was like,
Uh-huh.
no, my daughter said they're here. And I was like, okay. And then I took him,
The
and
chicken nugget section.
you know what?
Nothing was
There's a
there.
lot of pedophiles in the world when I really think about it. That was the most I'd ever been hit on in my life was when I was 16. He was really weird. That guy was weird too. There was another guy who was like a 50-year-old man. He like came up to
Uh-huh.
me. He touched my back
What?
and he was like,
While you were bagging his
yes.
groceries?
No, I was bagging someone
Okay.
else's groceries. I wasn't
Oh,
even bagging
what?
his. Yes. He wasn't even in my checkout line.
So did
I don't,
you turn around and you were like, "Excuse me,"
He
or
literally came up to me, he touched my back and said, "Bye, mommy." And I said, "Ah." And then my
"Oh my
coworker
gosh."
that was the cashier, she went, and I was like, dude, I'm literally 16. And
Oh
then
my
the other
gosh.
time that there was a lot of times like that which were really creepy. So y'all be careful. There's a lot of weirdos out there.
Okay,
And
so that's
then
not a lot of hard advice that you have to dole out to
I don't
dudes
have a
out
lot of
there. Like, don't
stop
touch
being
people.
creepy. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
touch anyone ever, no matter what age they are. And
Don't
then
flirt with minors.
the one time, yeah, don't, that's important advice. One time, something that happened that I was just kind of scared by is this guy. I was like bringing all the little carts in. It was at night and he was on the phone, I guess, with his wife. He slammed his car door and smashed his own window for his car. And I literally was like, I don't give a shit about these carts. I left the carts there and I ran inside
Wait,
because
wait,
I was
wait.
freaked
Let's
out.
back up a little bit. You can smash your own window by just
Dude,
slamming the door shut
no, I
hard
don't think
enough?
he slammed it hard enough that it broke it. I think
Oh,
like, I don't know what he
punched
hit
it?
it with, but he broke his window
Are you
for
sure he's
his own
breaking his
car.
own window? It could be someone else's
I
car that he's
wasn't,
breaking into.
like I said, I was very dedicated. If there's any hiring managers out there that happen to come across this podcast, I was very focused on my work. And so I was getting all the cards, but I just heard like yelling, and then I turned and then psh, his glass like broke, and it all happened, and I was like freaked out, and that's when I was like abandoned my post only by necessity, future hiring managers, and then ran inside, went to my manager, and I was like, there's a guy out there that just broke glass, and like I'm freaked out. I don't want to be out there. So then he went to go talk to the guy, and yeah, I guess he was like in a fight with his wife. He got angry, he broke the glass, and I was like,
Oh man,
Sir
he
needs
broke his own window.
therapy. Yeah, he was
I
scary.
just,
He needs some, I don't know. Yeah. And then that was it. The only other time something happened, it was like, the little random shoplifting. And then this
yeah, what
guy
happened?
gave
What
me
happened during the shoplifting? Like, did you just run
this
away
lady,
or?
this lady that I worked with, she was very condescending. She would talk to everyone like they were stupid. And um, this guy packed up one of the little baskets with a bunch of random groceries, and he's like zooming to the door, and we see him, and you're supposed to try to like stop them before they leave the
Uh-huh.
store. You're not supposed to chase them to their cars because they can have a weapon, and you're
Hmm.
also just not supposed to really try hard to, some people, you stop them, you're like, hey, no, and then they'll
Yeah.
abandon ship and they leave. But some
Uh-huh.
people, they're gonna take it all the way to their car, and they know that you're not supposed to chase them.
Uh-huh.
This guy had his little basket of stuff, and he's zooming to the door, and she like rushes over to him, but the moment he leaves the store, we're not supposed to try to like pursue him, and she runs out after him, and he's like turning around to see if we're following him, and she's like, your mother would be ashamed. And I was like, girl, I don't, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't think he cares what his mother thinks. I just like stared at her, and I was like, oh man. But yeah, that was it. There would be times where people would fill up like whole carts with like steaks and like a Swiffer
Uh-huh.
sweeper type of thing, like, all kinds of stuff, and
And did you
then
just
they would
walk
catch
out
them.
scot-free?
Sometimes they
Oh,
would
catch
walk
him.
out. Sometimes they would stop them and say, like, you can't, you need to pay for this. And then they would just leave the cart and run out to their car. But that was it. And then
Funny.
my best time, my best memory from there was when I was given a scratcher from a random dude who was cashing in on all his scratchers. He
Uh-huh.
had so much money from his scratchers, and he was talking with me, asking me like if I can help him cash out. And I was like, no, I can't because I'm a teenager. I was like, I need to go get my boss. Called my manager to help deal with it. And while we're waiting for her, me and him were talking, and he was telling me how he's like really, really lucky and this and that. And I'm like, oh, nice. And then he's like, oh, how's your day going? And I was like, honestly, and then he gave me a scratcher. And then the
Uh-huh.
scratcher won. I want to say it was 20 bucks. And
Not a
then I
whole
was
lot, but it won.
excited. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I was like, I can buy lunch with this. And I was so
Hmm.
excited. So I went to my manager and I was like, can I cash this? And she was like, no, you're 16. And I was like, oh. And it was so sad because I was so excited because he had told me that he had like really good luck, gave me the little scratcher. He's like, I hope you have a better day. And then it won. And I was hyped. I was like, this is the best day ever. So happy. And then she shitted on my happiness like
But what
immediately.
what do you end up doing with the ticket?
I held on to it because I was like, this is my lucky little like charm. But you can't have everything in this life. What about you?
That's
Tell your customer service
well, on
stories.
topic of shoplifting. Oh, this happened recently, right? But I mean, not related to me, but I was at Costco. You know how when the lines are really long at Costco, some dude with an iPad will come over and he can do something called pre-scanning. So you're waiting in line and he'll basically scan your membership card. Then he'll use the iPad to scan all the items that you have in your cart and he'll tell you you're pre-scanned. That means that when you go to the cashier just has to scan your membership card and all of the stuff that he scanned previously pre-scanned now shows up on your bill. So they just have to scan your membership card and you just have to pay and that's it.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, they're doing that at Costco now. So anyways, he does this to me and then he goes behind me and this old lady had a whole cart full of stuff and when the guy told me that you were pre-scanned, that didn't sound final to me, right? I just kind of figured that, oh, okay, I'm pre-scanned, then I just have to scan my membership at the cashier and then I just have to pay and that's it. But this older woman behind me probably misunderstood the dude and after he told her, okay, you're pre-scanned, just wait in line and go pay whatever, but she just took off and she just started going to the exit. But you
Oh,
know how Costco had that person that checks off on the
the
receipts?
receipt. Yeah.
Yeah. So the older woman was like, "What? No, I got pre-scanned. I'm good to go." And the guy's like, but did you pay? Where's your receipt?" He said, "Oh, you got to pay." And so she went back to pay.
How did she think that the stuff was paid for?
She was using that argument that, oh, I would pre-scanned, he took care of it already, and she maybe thought or assumed that they charged her or whatever, she didn't provide any payment. So
Interesting.
anyway, but
I've
when I
never seen that.
was at Target, so I got a job at Target right after high school because me and Ray, we both from the hood and we had to work through our whole lives, right? Um, but on that note, technically, ever since I turned 18, I've worked and I never stopped working my whole life until just recently when we got laid off. So,
Hmm.
yeah, right. So, anyways, I've been working at Target, 18 years old in Sacramento, and I was a cashier. And I remember this one woman, she wanted to buy like a handbag, and we were trained to always open up all of the bags, even shoes. If you buy shoes, you got to open up the box of shoes and make sure that they're just the right shoes are in there and
There's no
nothing
little
else.
baby bottle pop shoved into the toe.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, yeah. You got to check everything. And so when she bought this bag had like the secret flap inside, but I just put my hand in there. I could feel that there's a bunch of stuff in it. So I take it out. Initially, I thought it was like the paper filling, the crumpled paper to make sure that the bag doesn't collapse on itself. There were a whole bunch of panties in there, whole bunch of panties, like 20, 30 panties in there. And they still had the little tiny tags on them. And so I asked her, I was like, oh man, these are a lot of panties in here. I think some of the panties even had their tags ripped off of them. And so I asked her, oh, do you want to buy these panties? And she gave that look like, oh, what are these doing here in this bag that I have never seen these
Oh,
before? Who
those
would put
little
that? Oh man,
things.
oh my gosh, like panties that perfectly fit me that I don't know what these are. I don't want them. And so I just rang up the bag for her. And so, yeah, I like to joke that if there's some woman out there who's pantyless because of me, I did not give her her free panties. So, yeah, that was the only incident of outright shoplifting at Target I've ever seen. And I've never seen a case where someone tried to walk out the Target because we had people in AP, asset protection, and they would actually be camping around the front door and they greet people and so they make it more intimidating to try to discourage people from walking out with any kind of products.
The Target close to me in Berkeley, I've seen people shoplift there a lot. There was
Oh
one time
yeah,
this guy was
like
walking out with a bunch of laundry detergent and then the little alarm thing went off and then he was
uh-huh.
walking past me and Andrew and he was like, "That's crazy," as he had like just set off the
How
alarm.
how do you know if he actually paid for all that?
He did not because the alarm was going off that like
Okay, so
someone
I
had
got
just
I got
walked out
something
with.
adjacent to that because I worked at the library at UCSD, right? But
Uh-huh.
before you can check out any book, you have to put the spine of the book on this machine, and the machine will make a really loud sound, it's almost sounds like a mallet hitting a wooden table.
What is that?
It's a
What,
magnetic strip that's
oh, in the
glued to
book.
the into the spine of the book. So
Ah, okay, that's
it's
what I
really
thought.
difficult. You can't
But why
remove
is
it.
it
You
so
gotta.
loud?
I think it demagnetizes the strip, and then you had to
Oh.
remagnetize it when they return the book, and then you put it back into circulation onto the shelf. So the
Oh.
magnetic strips are active, and the sensors can detect the book if it hasn't been checked out. And it's a big alarm that goes off. And when the alarm goes off, we have a security guard at the circulation desk at all time that runs out to grab the person and say, "Hey,
That's
we gotta,
stealing the book?
we have to rescan the books that you have, or do you have any books that are in your possession that you forgot are in your possession?" Like you can't do that. So we never arrest anybody, but we just make sure they don't walk away with any
Don't you
unchecked
dare
books.
take that second edition of physics. I swear to God, you little nerd.
You
Give
know,
it
those
back
books are
right
expensive,
now.
right? They're like $500,
Yeah, they are
like half a
expensive.
grand for those
They are.
textbooks. And those are our most popular items, the textbooks. But you can't even check them out. You
I mean, it's
can
hard
check
to
them out
steal
for
that.
one or
It's a
2 hours.
huge little unit. It's hard to take
Technically,
that
you can
without
go
anyone
anywhere
seeing.
with them. You can go anywhere with those textbooks, but you only have 2 hours. And the minute you go over 2 hours, you get like a $20 fine
Yeah, that's
automatically
happened to me before.
against your
I think
Bursar
it's
account.
$20
I
though.
can't remember.
Was it?
It's pretty steep.
It
Yeah, I
is a
think it's
lot
20
though.
bucks.
Yeah,
It's
it
I
is
think it's 20
expensive.
bucks. And they stack too. So you have 5 books and all 5 of them hit past that 2 hour mark, you get $100 fine.
That's crazy.
5 books. So that was
It'd
that
be
was another.
wild if the magnets were strong, like MRI machines, and you like are walking with your book away from the library, you get yanked back all the way,
No, I
start
think it's just
flying
a
through the air.
detection. It's just detecting the books, but I don't think it's gonna compromise anybody with a pacemaker or anything like that, right?
Pull them all the way to Geisel.
Oh, I'm getting a heart attack. So yeah.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that wasn't my last customer service job. I also worked at a restaurant. I worked at BJ's right there by UCSD, and then I worked at American Eagle, also right there by UCSD.
nothing of any crazy stories.
I'm trying to think. The restaurant, it just like it was good because you get free food after your shift. But I think working at a restaurant made me realize like people are really out of their goddamn minds because it's never that serious. They would be so mad at me if there wasn't a table and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, dude, cook at home, you little lazy. Why are you mad at me? You're like hangry. I think that was like the most ridiculous thing that would happen, is people getting mad about waiting so long. And then working at American Eagle, I wasn't really customer facing since I did the overnight stocking of stuff, but I hated my manager because she had like energy on 1,000%. We had our
Mhm.
30-minute break and it's like 2 a.m. So obviously I'm not eating lunch at 2 a.m. And I would lay down on the clothes. So yeah, wash your clothes when you buy them from the store, y'all. Because we would have them like on the floor.
Really, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, you throw stuff onto the floor when you're like reorganizing.
Oh,
And
okay.
because they move stuff around. So you'll have like whatever hanging in the front. If it's not doing well, then you move it to being folded on a table. If it's not doing
Mhm.
well, you hang it up and move it to a different part. So it's like stuff is usually circulating for a while. It's just in a different form. And
Wow.
yeah, we would have stuff on the floor and I would lay down to take a little nap because it's the middle of the
On
night.
top of the clothing,
Yes.
make a little pillow
As
out of
like
the
a little pillow.
clothing.
Yeah. I use the jeans like a
What?
little pillow. And then she'd come over and she'd be like, "Are you taking a nap, Ray?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
Oh
it's
my God.
freaking she's like speaking at 1,000 decibels." I'm like, I was trying to. And then she like really loved her job, which is good. It's good to love your job, but it was to the point where like if you're calling out, she cannot understand why you would call out. Why you would need to call out. I didn't
Wow. I
call out
didn't.
though. I was always at work, But
Mhm.
I think one time I fell asleep on accident because it's like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God. And I texted her, like, I'm so sorry. I fell asleep. I'm on my way. I got to work. My friend, who we were actually friends before we even started working there, she had the same thing happen. She fell asleep. So we both got to work around the same time with like little creases in our face, like, when you're napping and you have like a pattern on your face from your
Well,
pillow.
you,
And we
the
both got there.
denim jean
Well,
seams
we
like
were from my at-home pillow of
a
jeans.
perfect button on your cheek right there.
And then yeah, we both got there at the same time. It's just like, oh my gosh, you guys weren't lying. You both had the same story and you guys both have the marks on your faces. And then we thought it was kind of funny. But she thought because she knew we were friends, she thought we had been in, like, a car accident or something. Because none of us had responded to her text being like, hey, where are you? Because we were
Mhm.
asleep. But yeah, good times. But maybe we'll be back in customer facing jobs soon. I think about it because I'm unemployed
Mhm.
and I only have 3 more
Mhm.
months of unemployment. I'm like, oh man, maybe I'll go be a scribe in a hospital or something. I guess
Is
that
that an
maybe,
actual position, a scribe in a hospital? What do
yeah,
you do? Just
take
write
notes for
notes?
the doctor. Yeah.
Really?
I was a scribe in outpatient, so like when you go
I
to the
did not
doctor to get
know
like your
that.
normal checkup, I was a scribe for that. So
So the doctor is telling you to write down, oh, I'm giving this person five
no, they don't tell
milligrams
me
of
what to write down.
penicillin
I
or,
have to choose. I have to listen to the conversation and do it
oh,
myself.
oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
I would sit and listen to the conversation and then write down obviously what I think is important. Some doctors like to have a little bit of like, oh, this patient's like a little blurb about their personal life so that it felt more like a personal experience. But yeah,
Hmm.
I would write down what they talked about, what the patient said they were eating, whatever they're having, like related to the,
Interesting.
yeah. And then
Wow.
I would write down what all their symptoms are. I would write down what our plan was and when they'll follow up again. And then I would submit orders for the doctor. So submit request for like an x-ray or whatever, submit
That
something
is
for
interesting.
like requesting files, or I would open the files myself from like, oh, this patient just went to the ER recently. So I'd read the ER report and then write in the notes what the recent ER visit was for, what they had determined, and then
Okay.
yeah.
I've never seen a scribe before, I don't think.
I think I don't think everywhere has them for sure because it was only like Kaiser, I don't think has scribes. But the place I worked at in San Diego, we had scribes at different centers, and then they were working on getting scribes in ERs. And then I had a mutual, which was she my friend? Someone I was cool with. She worked in a hospital overnight and stuff. Or not overnight, but she worked in an ER and she would take those notes. And she said it was obviously a different experience because for me, we just saw a lot of patients with like diabetes, hypotension, hypertension, whatever. For her, it was a hospital. So she said that they would see a patient, sometimes something would like happen to them, and then they would just like keep going, like
Hmm.
nothing. Really, really, really weird. But yeah,
Crazy.
so maybe I'll do that again. I don't know.
You got the experience for that.
Yeah, have I ever told the story of the doctor I worked with on this podcast?
I don't think so.
The catfish.
No.
Well, she's
I mean,
not a
you told me
catfish. All right,
she
I'll tell the
got
story
catfish.
for our viewers. But this doctor, I wish her well. I think
Uh-huh.
this was a really hard time in her life when I think about the story because I don't know. Okay, whatever. I'll tell the story because I'm getting spaced out. Basically, like I said, I worked in an outpatient clinic in San Diego. And at first I started working there with an OBGYN. I didn't like her just because I thought she was a bit rude to her patients. Like sometimes they would not want something and she was kind of pressuring them to get it, which I get it. As a doctor, you want the best for your patients. You want them to do all these like screenings for cancer and this and that. You want, especially if they're pregnant too, you have to be really strict with them. But I think sometimes you have to, if there's like, they bring up that for religious reasons they can't do something, like you have to respect it and just, that's it. Like make sure they're aware of the risks and move on. But sometimes she could be kind of like mean about it. So I wasn't a fan of her. Um, and after I was done working with her, I started working in family practice or internal medicine. No, family medicine. And I liked the person I worked for. She was a nurse practitioner. She was really smart. She was really cute, really quiet, really chill. She was cool. And then it's like a little group of us. So it's the MA. So the person who goes, like, usually the person you talk to on the phone when you're making the appointment, they're also the ones who are taking your blood, who are taking your weight, your blood pressure, your heart rate, your O2, all that. They're the
Hmm.
ones doing all of those checks before you actually see the provider. And so it was me, MA, nurse practitioner, and then an MA for two or two other doctors. And then, or no, two more MAs and their doctors that they worked for. One of them was a pediatrician, and then the other one, she was also family medicine, and she was actually the head of the clinic. Okay, this is important because she makes a lot of money. And she was really nice when I first met her. You know, she met me. She's like, "Hi, what's like, welcome, blah blah blah. How old are you? Do you have kids? This and that." Just like trying to make me feel welcome.
Wow. Going straight into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, she asked me if I had kids, and I was shook because I was barely 21. And I was like, "It's like no." She thinks I'm a child bride. I was like, "Oh my God!" She just asked me if I'm teen pregnancy. It was like, no, rude.
Or maybe you look older than you look.
You just want me to kill myself. And then I was, she seemed nice. Time goes by and she tells us about this guy she met on a dating app called Coffee Meets Bagel, which is, do you know what it is? I learned
No,
what it
never
was
heard of
because of
that.
her. It is for young professionals to date. So she met this guy that has, he's an engineer. I'm gonna tell it as it is for now, and I'll let y'all see if you would have gotten got. Okay, we're gonna play a game. Would you have gotten catfished? So this man, his name is Simon. I'm gonna say his name because he's freaking
He's a
fake.
fake dude. Anyways, yeah, yeah.
And I think he tells her he's half Japanese, half New Zealander. Is that how you say that? Half Kiwi? And he's an engineer and he used to live in San Diego, but he's from, I think he said he's from New Zealand, but right now he's living in Thailand and he's working on a skyscraper in Thailand. That is what he told her. She says that he's like very charismatic. She thinks he's very handsome. He's everything she's been looking for. And she's very smart. At the time I met her, she was very nice and great conversationalist. She just seemed like I I feel like it's just hard dating right now because people don't like to talk to each other in person. They like to do online like dating apps and
Text
stuff.
each other.
Texting, yeah, or dating apps like Tinder, Hinge, whatever. And so she said she hadn't really had good experience with dating. I think her last relationship, he cheated on her. I don't know if it was her last relationship, but I think one of her more serious relationships for sure, he had cheated on her and that kind of messed her up. And me and her bonded over the fact that our parents are strict, strict
Uh-huh.
helicopter tiger parents, whatever you want to call them. And so we had like talked about that. But yeah, she told us about this guy, and then they were talking every single day. And apparently, he was telling her about how he needed to come up with the money for the skyscraper. And that's when like, before this,
Oh yeah, when your alarm bell to
I had
be.
no alarm bells, right? Because I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, good for her. She met someone who's, successful as well. That's what she deserves, you know. You don't want to be the head of the clinic dating, you know, guy with no job. I mean, that'd be ideal if you were the guy. But but I think in general people who are successful want someone who's also contributing. And
Uh-huh.
so we're all like happy for her until she says that. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no, 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 no. I'm
For
pretty sure this is
sure.
not a
Biggest red
thing.
flag.
But nobody listens to little old me. Nobody listens to little Debbie. They only listen to you if you're like an adult, you know? And I just look like a little tiny child being like, he's not real. So then I was like, I need some hardcore proof, you know? I need some stuff to back me up. So naturally, I messaged my brother, who's an engineer. And I'm like, hey, you don't like freaking fundraise for your stuff, right? Like you
Wait,
have,
skyscraper.
yeah, for your buildings. And he's like, that's ridiculous. That's BS. Whoever says that they're doing that is BS. And I'm like, okay. So I tell her that. And she's like, I don't tell her he said it's BS, but I'm like, hey, my brother said that that's not a thing. And then she's like, no, no, it's different though. It's different because he's in Thailand. And I'm like,
Like the Thai people do
no.
things differently.
She literally said, money's different there. And I was like,
Money's different.
I'm like, you're not wrong, but you're not right. And then I was like, okay. And this is during COVID time. So I'm sure he had lots of excuses. This is 2020. And yeah, she's like really into him, all this stuff. And I tried telling her, like, hey, that doesn't sound legit. She told us that he sent her documents showing the project he's working on and that it costs $2 million to build a skyscraper. And I'm like, is that how much skyscrapers are? And so I text my brother, and he's like, absolutely not. That's so cheap for a skyscraper. You
Well,
would
sure,
need,
man. 2 million.
yeah,
That's like a house in the Bay Area right now.
yeah, exactly. I didn't even think about that. Oh my God. And then he's like, no, that's not, that's just BS. Whoever this is, it's BS. So I tell her that. I'm like, my brother said 2 million is really cheap for a skyscraper. She's like, but it's Thailand. It's different. Money's different there. It's expensive for Thailand. And I was like, oh man, I don't know what to say when she whips out the it's Thailand excuse. Like, how do I fight that? And so I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, but he didn't ask you for money. So I guess that's all that matters, right? He's not a catfisher if he's not asking you for money. And she's like, no, 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 he's not asking me for money. Oh my gosh, no, he would never. And I
He
was
would
like,
never.
okay. They had only been talking for a month, I think, until he dropped that L bomb on her. And he said that
Oh, a
yeah,
month
yes,
that
he said
he
he loved
liked
her.
her. Oh, okay.
No,
No, that's
sir.
that's another L
That's
bomb
like
that I'm
that's like
familiar with.
the L pop it, that's too
Oh, L
small.
pop it. The L
Yeah,
pop it
like
too
the little
small.
like a tiny firework, the
Then the L bomb.
firework, L bomb, different.
Okay. I'm
And
still waiting for Her Highness to say that to me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Proceed.
I L pop
Proceed.
it you. And she tells us that he said that, and she was like, that changed everything for me. That makes me think that he's serious about me. This is making me feel like, all of these different emotions. And I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling like he's a catfisher. And the pediatrician, she had she would only work there some days of the week. She was not there every day. But one day that first doctor, we will call her Dr. N. Dr. N had walked away, and the pediatrician, we'll call her Dr. P for pediatrician. She was turned to everyone and was like, guys, this is gonna end really badly for her. Like, what are we gonna do? But at this point, no one had said anything but little old Debbie here. I was the only one that was like, I don't think he's real. I don't think he's real. And none of them had been like straight up with her until some of the MAs started to say stuff. And so we start slowly, being like, hey, girl, I don't think he's real. And we were telling her that. And then she told us that she told him, Simon, that we were all saying, like, I don't think he's real. One of the MAs was joking about getting him on that show, Catfish. Have you seen it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's
I
like, I'm
haven't
gonna
seen it.
call.
I've heard of it.
Okay, well, there's this guy, the guy who is the host or whatever, his name's Ned. I think his name's Ned. And one of the MAs was like, oh, we need to get Ned to figure out if this guy's real, if Simon's real. And she turns to us and she's like, guys, Simon really doesn't like when you guys say he's not real. And I'm
Of
like, yeah,
course.
because we're about to cost him that paycheck. And so at this point, he's never asked for the money yet. He tells her that he's coming up with it and that he's taking out loans, like tens of thousands of dollars in loans. I think either he told her he needed to come up with 500K or 50K, I forget. It was a lot of money though that he has to come up with himself before he can start his project. and that
Wow,
he
so
was
he
stressed
got almost like
out.
1.95 million already then.
I don't know. I don't remember the BS he told her, but I just remember he was like fundraising a good amount of money for his
Hmm.
project and that he was like borrowing. He told her he was borrowing from family members, he was borrowing from friends, he was taking out loans, and somehow that still didn't ring a bell to her. Like, why would anyone in their right mind want to have a job where you have to come up with the money yourself to start
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
project?
that
And
for sure.
she wanted him to come visit her in San Diego too. And she was even preparing. She had like a big house. She was telling us that she was preparing like the room and the restroom for him so he could have his own space.
Hmm.
That, she was preparing everything for him, but that he still hadn't bought his plane ticket yet.
Always delaying.
Yeah. So then finally, one day, she tells us that he said he has almost all the money he needs, but he needs 10,000 more dollars. And the moment she said that, I said, Dr. N, no, do not. He's going to ask you for it. Don't send it.
Uh-huh.
No, no, he hasn't asked me. He hasn't asked me. I'm like, Okay, but I think that's what he's building up to. Don't send him any money. Trust me, trust me.
Uh-huh.
Because she had also not FaceTimed him or anything. And it's
I
the
know, that's
21st
crazy.
century. She had only been texting and phone calls. And I was like, dude, there's no way Mans is going to say he doesn't have an iPhone or a camera of any type, like on a computer, especially as an engineer.
For sure.
And then I'm like, don't send him money. Don't send him money. His deadline's coming up. She tells us like when his deadline is that he needs the money. She's telling us, "Oh, I feel so bad for Simon. He's so stressed out, la la la." And I'm like, "Oh, no. He's got her, because he
Yep.
dropped that L bomb on her. So she's
Uh-huh.
feeling attached. She's
Uh-huh.
feeling like this is her boo bear, This is her Pookie. She can't let him go down. She needs to help him out. They are bonded right now." And the day of his like deadline comes up, she doesn't say anything about it at all. So then the next day, me being nosy as hell, I said, "Hey, Doctor, and so whatever happened with Simon's deadline, was he able to reach it? Was he able to get the rest of the money?" And she's like, "It's been taken care of."
By me.
And then I said, "Oh, good, nice." And I'm like waiting for her to, finish the sentence. And she doesn't say anything more. And I'm like, so did he get like another loan out? Was he able, did someone, was what happened? And she goes, it's been taken care of. And then
She
I was
said, I
like,
wired money to Nigeria
and
already.
you're joking, but just wait. And then I was like, so like, did you send him money? And she goes, yeah, I sent him the $10,000. I'm like, oh man, soldier down. And I was like, oh, okay. Great. Like, I'm not a good liar. So you can see it all over my face that I'm like, what the hell? You're a doctor. You're so smart. She tells me that that's like all her savings, which is even more devastating. Like, oh man. Um, and so I was like, oh, okay. Yay, Simon. And she's like, yeah, he's so happy. He gets to start his project. I'm like, girl, he's so happy because you paid his rent for 3 months. And I told her before she sent that money, I said, don't send him the money. I'll take 2K and I'll find out if he's real or not. I was like, I'll do the work myself. She's like, ha 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 ha, you guys are so silly. You guys are so silly. And then boom, this happens. The 10K thing happens and time goes on. And now it's time for him to be able to finally go see her because this project
Uh-huh.
started and this and
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So she's getting excited, getting
Uh-huh.
ready for him to come and visit her. Oh, I'm parched. And then she is telling us that he's going to come. She's preparing, but he hasn't bought his ticket yet. He has not bought his plane ticket yet. She wants him to send screenshot that he's bought the ticket. And
Screenshot.
yeah, and of course he has all kinds of excuses that he's pulling out as to why he hasn't bought a
So
ticket yet.
she's already a little learier already,
Yes, but at this
demanding
point the
screenshots and
damage
all
has
that. But
been
I know,
done.
just dang.
And the other thing that's really wild is I want to say this. is what happened, is that she FaceTimed him to confirm that he was real, but that the
Uh-huh.
video was so
All
blurry
black. It was a blurry.
that it was like terrible quality. She couldn't even super confirm that it was him talking.
She
He
couldn't
showed
even.
he showed the he showed where he was staying in Thailand and it was like a little resort supposedly. I'm like, girl, you
She
paid
saw a
for
camel in the
that.
background, the Sahara Desert.
And
The
so supposedly that happened. I don't know for sure. I don't know, whatever. This is all also like 2020, 2021. So
mhm.
I don't have great memory, but I remember all the main points. Like I remember the money.
Yeah.
And so she is talking with him, and then one day at work, she's telling us during lunch. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, I feel so bad for Simon." And we're like, "Why? What
Oh
happened?"
no.
Someone broke into his cabin and stole all his money and his passport, and they just stole so much from him. And so he can't come see me in San Diego. I'm so sad. I'm so upset. I feel bad for him. He's stressed, this and that. And I was like, dude, she's a doctor. She should know that this is just BS. You're telling me that he just has the worst luck in the world? So that happens, and Simon's not coming. She's very upset about it. And she's telling him that, she's just worried because what if he is lying to her? And of course, he's consoling her and telling her that he would never do that and he loves her and blah, blah, blah. So then time goes on, and unfortunately, during the main event, the main smackdown of this whole story, I am moving to the Bay Area, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna miss the season finale. So my coworkers, I don't even know how they did it. I don't know if it was like a reverse Google search type of thing. I genuinely don't know how they did this because everything I was updated on was through text
Uh-huh.
and voice messages. But they tell me that they find the real Simon, and
Uh-huh.
he is a Japanese man who doesn't speak that much English. Like he speaks some, but not a lot. He's married, he has a husband, and yeah, he's living in, I think he lived in like Taiwan or something random. It
Uh-huh.
was like a random
Yeah.
country in Asia. Not Thailand, no
Uh-huh.
skyscraper.
Yep.
They find him and they show her the real guy with his husband and his Instagram. And instead of messaging the guy directly, whose name is not Simon, by the way, she messages this fake account of Simon and is like, "You're gay and married?" And he's like, "Oh, I forgot to, I never
I
told
forgot to
you.
tell you.
I never told you, but I'm getting a divorce and I used to be gay, but I'm not, you know, I really
I
like
took that
you."
gay conversion therapy that they
Oh
offer
my
in the
God.
US. And
New year, new me, no longer gay. Because this was
oh my
2021,
gosh.
early 2021. It's like, I think
Okay.
February or March of 2021. And yeah, he's telling her all this BS that he used to be married, he used to be gay, he's getting a divorce. I forgot to mention, I have a daughter and I also have a mom who has cancer. And I need to pay $2,000 to a, I think it was 2,500, but I'll go on the lower end. $2,000 per month to a nanny to help take care of my daughter because I have to help take care of my mom with cancer. And she's like, how horrible. You poor guy are going through so much. I'm so sorry. I didn't believe you, this and that. And I'm like, girl, everybody, the MAs
Yeah,
are like,
right.
there is no way that she still believes this story, that he's just telling her, she's gobbling it up. And so she starts sending him, I want to say it was 2,500. That number sounds right to me. She starts sending him $2,000 every month to help him with his
Every month.
expenses. Every month. I didn't know until I caught up with my coworkers that when she had sent the initial $10,000, she sent it to someone who had a woman name in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how was that also not a red flag? She thought that was like his manager or something getting the money from her. I don't understand how that wasn't a red flag. Hey, by the way, you're gonna send it to this random name in Australia, which is where we're sourcing the materials from. Maybe I don't know what he told her, but how she didn't question that is just beyond me. And then
That make no sense. Like, oh, send $2,000 to one of my staff members in another country that
the
I
$10,000, I
manage.
don't know where the 2,500 was going, but the 10,000, the initial
Oh,
wiring
okay.
was
Went
sent
to
to
them.
Australia.
Okay.
And then Um, yeah, he had told her that story. She believed him. And then I found out when I got like an update from the this is the most recent update. I don't think she talks to him anymore
Oh, okay. That's good.
per their story when I had asked them. But she went to Thailand herself with her
Whoa, she
friend
went.
because
Okay.
she, I guess, kept trying to get him to come to San Diego and something kept happening. Every single time he was supposed to come, he couldn't get a flight. He always had an excuse as to why he couldn't come see her. So then finally, I guess she was like, okay, I'll come to you. And he's like, sounds great. Let's do it. She luckily took a friend with her, which, points for that because that would have been 10 times scarier if she just went solo tripping alone. When she lands in Thailand, he does not respond to her messages at all. Not even BS about, oh, I'm stuck at work. Nothing. Silent. Radio silent. And then when she gets back to America, he tells her, sorry, I got cold feet. And I think she was still talking to him after that Thailand trip. She was still messaging him because she felt
Oh
bad, which
man.
it's sad because, as if it was a real situation where this man like genuinely needed this money and all of this and his lies were true, obviously she's a nice person for trying to help him out. But I think it was just so blatantly obvious that this was a fake man
Hmm.
and she just wasn't. And it's so interesting too because she'd be like, "Send me a picture. What are you doing right now? Send me a picture." And all the pictures he got off of Instagram, the guy would be like hanging out on a couch, like taking a picture of himself. And that's the stuff he would post. So it looks like, someone's just casually texting and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll send you a picture. I'm just chilling right now, just hanging out." So be careful what you post. And then I think that was it. So she definitely sent him, I would say, well over like 15K total for sure, minimum, because she was sending that 2K every month. I don't know how long this went on for though, but it was just crazy to me. And she didn't tell any of her siblings or her parents about this guy. And I think a part of her knew he could be fake, but I think she was just like very hopeless romantic, very. She
Hmm.
also just really wanted kids and stuff because she was in her mid to late 30s. So she was
Hmm.
trying to just as fast as she can have like this romance. But I was
Yeah.
like, girl, you just gotta go outside.
Hmm.
Catch them
For
outside. How about
sure.
that?
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was
You
crazy.
gotta give me her deets. I need some free money. Come
I
on.
know she could help me pay off my student loans for real. But
You're
yeah,
like,
there's
oh,
a
I
lot
already
of
got some money from her myself.
it's just crazy
Ramon right
because
here.
you need to be careful what you post online. This person messaged me on TikTok trying to catfish me, and I thought it was funny, so I was
How
playing
do you
along.
know? How do you know to meet? Okay, yeah,
Oh,
go ahead. Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you. Okay. Oh, so they messaged me. I posted a TikTok and because I was trying
I
to,
thought you never post. This is a
man,
revelation
I'm
right here. Oh my
desperate for
gosh.
money. Do you know I'm up
Uh-huh.
on this podcast right now? I'm
Uh-huh.
desperate for money. I'm
Oh
trying.
man.
I'm like a
Okay.
Gen Alpha right now. I'm trying to
So
get
you posting a dancing
social
video, go
media
ahead.
famous
Uh-huh. You getting
and
on, becoming an influencer,
I
TikToker.
posted a TikTok and random person messages me, of course, being like, I'm a sugar daddy. I will take care of you. La la
Oh,
la.
he's up front. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, free money. I could talk to a dude, I'd be down to talk to someone if they're just bored
Uh-huh.
and be like,
And make money off of it.
"Hey, what's
Andrew would be
going
cool with
on?"
that?
As long as there's no sugar, yeah. And
Really?
then to
Oh,
just
that's
talk to someone,
interesting.
dude, I make the people
What if it
haha for
gets
free. I'll do it for
X-rated?
money. Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
ooh.
No,
And
not X-rated. I'll listen to
okay.
his retirement issues and how his knee
Okay.
hurts. I'm not
You
trying
know how
to.
that's how it all starts, right? They start from the 401k and then they just move on to
Well,
the
at that
X-rated
point, oh
stuff.
no, I got robbed. Someone stole my phone. I can't respond to you anymore. Oh no, they've broken in to my apartment and
Okay.
stole my passport and my
Okay.
money. I
But
need help,
everything has a
sugar queen.
price. What if they offer $10,000 to you
I gotta figure out a way for them to gift it to me, so that's
and
not
then to get it
illegal.
to you and
Gift it.
or
Because
somehow
I think it's
just pay
illegal.
taxes on it, whatever.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
just
report
do
it,
it.
IRS,
Okay.
if you're
All right,
listening.
just go do that. And
I
but you
just
would be cool with it and Andrew as
I
well?
mean, I don't want them to think we're like in a relationship or flirting, but if they're
Okay.
just like, if I'm a
All right.
bootleg therapist, I'm down. Are you kidding
Okay. All
me?
right.
Easy,
Okay. Yeah,
easy,
sure.
man.
Okay. So
This is why
anyways,
your
this guy
grandchildren won't talk to you. You got problems, you know?
Okay, so you're talking with this dude who's
So yeah,
clearly
they're like,
issues.
I'll pay for this, that, la la la. I have a bunch of sugar babies. This is what I do for work, la 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 la. And I'm like, oh, it seems too good to be true. So I go to my trusty Reddit. Trusty Reddit is like, no one is ever gonna pay you to just talk. They
Uh-huh.
want sugar. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
my dreams have been crushed. Someone just told me Santa's not real. And I'm like crying, throwing up, boo-hooing because my dreams just been shitted on. So then they're like, yeah, no one is ever gonna message you randomly and offer to pay for your stuff. They are always going to want something in exchange. And I'm like, no, on my knees, crying. It's raining. And I'm like, okay, I just want to see if like what, they're gonna say to me, what they're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
lie to me
yeah.
about.
Continue along.
And I'm super unemployed, so like
Uh-huh. Yeah, you
it's
got the
not like
time.
I
Okay,
have anything but so I have so
let's
much
see how
time.
deep the rabbit hole goes.
So then I messaged them. I have screenshots of the message too. I'll send it to you because it was kind of
Oh yeah,
funny.
you documented it. This can like feed on into your future TikToking endeavors. You gotta like put that in, see how long and how deep you can go and chronicle the whole thing. Well,
It was ridiculous.
now in an
So
alternate TikTok account, right?
yeah. So then he's telling me all this junk, and I'm like, okay, how do you normally do it? How do I know you're legit? How do I know this, that? I'm not here to play around, darling. I'm serious. If you're not gonna take me serious, then I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go find a different person. And I'm like, no, it's
You're really
okay.
playing along.
I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I just have trust issues, but I believe you. You don't seem like you would lie. And then they're telling me that the payment needs to go through PayPal. And I'm
Okay,
like, do you have
that's
Venmo
interesting.
or Zelle? And no, I don't have those, only PayPal. And so
You went too easy. I would have been like, no, I can only wire money. I only use Western
well,
Union
I told them that
money transfers.
I only have Venmo and Zelle. Well, then you need to make a PayPal. This is that. Okay, I'll do it right now. I asked Andrew, I'm like, why PayPal? And he said because they're able to do the scam through PayPal.
Really? I thought they
Um,
can track people and get your money back.
I genuinely couldn't tell you how it works, but he told me that there's like a way to do it through PayPal.
Okay.
And so that's why they use PayPal. And so I'm like, okay, talking with them, this and that, just lying about all kinds of junk. I take the picture that they have on their TikTok and I do the reverse Google search. And the real guy is a dentist in Brazil. And he had a video on his profile of a bunch of accounts that people have made of him pretending to be this sugar daddy.
Man, I
And
wonder
so
why he
he
was
was,
targeted. Why did they pick him and
I think
everyone?
because his pictures were very like he has one where he's on a boat.
Uh-huh.
He has one
Okay.
where all of his pictures make him look successful because he's a dentist. And they're all public. They're on Instagram. He has a bunch of pictures of himself. So, And I think people think he's like a silver fox, you know, they think he's handsome. So they were like, perfect target. Let's get this man and use him. And so, yeah, he was aware that people were catfishing. And then in the comments on Instagram, I was reading and translating all of these people's comments. And
Hmm.
some people were saying they got a message from him and they had sent him money because some of the accounts were pretending to be him as a dentist and
Uh-huh.
saying, you need to send this money for your whatever they would come up with. And so people were sending money thinking it was their dentist. Um, so yeah, there were tons of comments like that, like, oh yeah, I sent him money. I just got a message from him like a couple of days ago. Oh my gosh. And all of that in response to his video saying, like, hey guys, someone's pretending to be me. And there's just a bunch of accounts of me. And so I start messing with the person who's messaging me, and I'm like, you look so familiar. And they're like, oh, haha, you're so sweet. And I'm like, no, like, you look famous. Like, you look like someone famous. I just can't remember their name. And they're like, oh, haha, you're so funny. La, 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 la. And then I'm like, oh, I remember the name. It's Dr. Blah, blah, blah. And then
Radio silence.
they responded, hold.
Old.
Old. And then I started cracking up. And then I started messaging like, ah, you thought you got me. You think I'm dumb or you think I'm stupid. I was like, you really thought, huh? You really thought I was gonna send you money? Oh my God, you're so dumb. I was like, how dare you? I'm reporting you to the police. And then they responded being like,
I
like, I'm so sorry. I'm
apologize.
so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. And I'm like, okay, okay. I'm
I
sorry.
forgive you.
I
You
was
send me
being
a
kind
thousand
of
dollars.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I was being kind of mean. I was being kind of mean. Okay, let me send you the money right now. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, you really thought, did you really think? You really thought. And then they respond saying, please, please,
Please.
actually, can you please help me? I'm a little Nigerian boy. I was like,
Yes.
what? And I was just cracking up and
Oh
I screenshotted
no.
the whole thing because I thought it was
You should have been like, send me real
ridiculous.
photos of yourself then, and then like keep
Crazy.
it
Yeah, I
going.
told them that. I'm like, why don't
Like,
you post stuff
let
on
me.
your
Okay, let me
TikTok
see.
story?
Yeah.
Why don't you post anything on your TikTok story or your profile? If you don't trust me, I'll just find a different sugar baby. And there, that was
Uh-huh.
always the threat. Every time I would call their bluff, they'd be like, you know what? Since you're not taking me seriously, I'm just gonna find a different sugar baby.
For
I'd be like, I'm
sure.
sorry, I'm sorry. But yeah, it was just funny because then he switched to wait, no, please, I need help. Actually, I'm a little Nigerian boy and I need help. And I was like, oh
A
my
little Nigerian
God,
boy.
that's
I'm
crazy.
emaciated. I need food. Tell your
I
podcast
think he
host
said he
to
like
not
needed
waste
to
food.
see his family or something. And I was like,
Oh my
dude,
gosh.
goodbye. It was funny though. So yeah,
That's
that's stuff you do when you're working hard, you know, you're sleeping
mm-hmm.
because you gotta wake up and go to work. Your unemployed friend is just wasting her time on TikTok
Uh-huh.
messaging a fake
Uh-huh.
sugar daddy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
My mom got catfished. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Because my mom, she's old school, right? She never really talks to us that much. I mean, she'll talk to us like, "Oh, do you eat enough? You need me to help you with this or that," but never anything too much about like her personal life. But I like to try to talk to her about all that. So whenever she comes over, I'll ask her for the tea. Like, give me some of the tea, like how auntie and uncle doing, like blah blah blah, how the cousin's doing, and all that, right? And she'll talk and open up, and she'll be scrolling on her phone as well. And I'll ask her, who do you message these days? Like, who are you texting? And she'll show me, oh, I text with this one dude. He's a family friend, long time. Like, I just talk to him, share stuff with him. And also, I'm like, okay, cool, cool. And I'm just curious. And I ask her, do you talk with auntie, blah, 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 or uncle, blah, blah, blah? And she'll say, yeah, yeah, here's this person, here's that person. And then she showed me, oh, but I really want to. tell you about this one guy I've been texting. I was like, oh, do tell. And she shows me, I can't remember how she had him listed in her phone, but it's this one dude allegedly from um, Florida, I think. And she said, "Oh, he's a really handsome dude. We share a bond." Um, he sent me a picture of the refugee boat. It's the same one that I took, and he said that it's probably the same boat, literal boat that she took, but he was just a tiny, tiny little boy, and she was older, like 20 something years old, and he remembers her, and oh wow, they shared the same refugee boat before they got picked up in Hong Kong, and so she was like, yeah, he got to her heartstrings really quickly, and
How did he initially message her, meet her?
he just messaged her on Facebook, yeah, on
Mm.
Facebook. And so that was the first red flag when she told me. I asked her, "How do you meet this dude?" And she said that, "Oh, he messaged her saying, did you take this refugee boat out of Vietnam
Did she have
into
stuff
Hong
on her
Kong?"
profile about being a
No, she didn't have
refugee?
anything. No, she didn't have anything. She
Oh,
just,
so it was just
I think
lucky.
on her profile, she just wrote that she's living in California,
But it
in the
was just a lucky
Sacramento area.
guess that
It
he
was a lucky
tried.
guess. And I told her that.
Wow.
I said that he could have just messaged a, a few hundred Vietnamese ladies in Sacramento with that same photo saying that, oh, are you a Vietnamese refugee from Vietnam during this year? And did you take this boat? And he just luckily landed on you. And it's just coincidental. But she was like, oh, like, oh no, no, it can't be coincident. It was meant to be blah blah blah. Like a heartless, I mean, not heartless, hopeful, romantic, like your friend. And I was like, oh, whatever. And she's showing me all of the pictures he sent her. And I was like, oh, okay, show me those pictures. Like, what is the douchebag sending you? So she sent me photos of him of like a military base or whatever. And she said that, oh, he works for the military. Here's him at a church. He sells medical supplies for the military, and he's a business owner. Here's his home right here, and blah blah blah. And so I told her to send me because I never believed any of this stuff. I asked her, "Do you ever talk to the dude before?" And she said, "No, we just texted each other." And I was like, "Why don't you just talk to her?" And oh no, he's always busy. He works for the military. He's always on top secret missions and whatever. He doesn't. He has spotty reception at the military
Selling
bases. And I
selling
was like,
medical
"But
devices
yeah, yeah,
and he
something
needs
like
to
that."
be okay.
And he sent her like looks like a stock photo of like EKG devices and the hospital equipment, and like
Yeah.
probably the watermark was still on it too. And I was like, "What the hell is that? It doesn't even look like a real thing." And my mom was like, "Oh yeah, he's super smart in the military, super buff. Look at him executing this church service right here, and blah 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 blah." And and she said that oh no, he's not in Florida. He's in Arizona. And I remember this because my mom was going to drive from Sacramento to Arizona to meet up with this dude. And I was like, hold up, because this is
By
pretty
herself?
serious.
By
Yeah,
herself?
I mean, by herself. And I was like, no, that's a little too extreme. Let me do some background check on this dude first. And she said, sure, do whatever you want. And I told her to send me the picture of this dude's house that he sent to her because he even gave her an address and everything to go to
Oh
Arizona.
wow.
Yeah.
It's like on Zillow.
And some, I don't know, some kind of random address. But when I looked up that, I did a reverse image search of the house and I found a Zillow listing for this house in
Oh
San
yeah.
Antonio, Texas. I was like, this is the house and that he's sending you photos of, and it's in San Antonio. And this website is legit. It's Zillow.
And
It's
what'd she
like
say
it's
to
for
that?
sale. She looked at. She believed me, 100%.
Oh, she
She
believed
just
you. Okay,
believed
okay.
me. She was like, "Oh, dang, that dude is totally trying to get at me." And then she started asking me questions like, "But he sent me real photos of this guy. That's him." I tried to reverse image search that guy, but I couldn't find that guy, the real person, right?
You didn't find him on
No,
social
I couldn't
media?
find him. But I told her that at least I found out that he's lying about this house that he has.
Yeah.
And so she just cut off contact with him off the, but she's
Did
so
she message
paranoid.
him being like,
No,
"You
I think she
betrayed
just
me.
blocked him immediately
How
right
come
there
you
in front of me.
almost sent
But
me to
but she was
Texas?"
so paranoid because apparently she's been sending him pictures of us, the kids, to him. And she got so paranoid that she did that. She deleted all, you know how you can go into a chat message, a conversation, and start deleting images from it? But it
Uh-huh.
doesn't do anything because she already sent it to him, right? But she's
Yeah, it's
just
too
deleting it
late.
from her end. And I told her that I was like, oh, I mean, you can delete it from your phone, but it doesn't mean that you're undoing it on his phone.
Like he
And
might
she
have already
said,
saved it. Yeah.
yeah. And she said, it doesn't matter. I just don't even
Oh
want it in
man.
a conversation.
Your mom
And
probably
so,
lays in bed like a roach every day, just like staring at the ceiling, thinking about this random person with all your guys'
because,
baby
but
pictures.
while this whole thing was going on, I kept telling her that this dude is going to ask her for money. And she said, no, he hasn't ever asked me for money. And even if he did, I'm going to tell him that I'm broke.
Why did
Yeah,
he
I'm not going to
message
give
her
him any
then?
money.
If he never
She,
even asked for money?
he never asked her for money. So they were text messaging for like a month and a
For
half.
just for
I,
fun? Maybe he just needed a
no, I
friend.
think he was trying to catfish her. Like he's got to build it up slowly, right? Just like your friend, your
No,
doctor
she's
friend.
not my friend. She's not my doctor friend. She
Oh,
was
okay,
just
your
a
boss,
coworker.
right? But
No, she wasn't
he
my boss.
that dude
But
didn't
that
even
guy
ask
didn't
for
even work it
money.
up. That guy didn't even work it up slowly. He said 1 month, all right, TikTok on the clock. I love you, Pookie Bear. And then she
Yeah,
was
that's what
like,
I mean. But it would over a month, right?
but how long had your mom been talking to this guy?
Or like
Yeah,
a
he was
month and a half.
overdue. Man says this is
Yeah,
why he's
yeah. I think
unsuccessful. This is
maybe he
why
would
one of
just
them has
about
10K in his pocket and this one it does
he was
not.
probably just about to ask, and
That's
but
scary though. Having her
I
drive there is really scary.
or fly over whatever.
He was gonna
But
take her
he wasn't
organs,
gonna be over
man.
there
He said
anyways.
that
Like he did.
kidney's mine. 10K times two.
He was probably just gonna pull a fast one, say, "Oh, something happened. I can't meet you up in
But why
Arizona." Boo
have her
hoo.
drive over
Yeah, I don't
if you're not
know.
gonna?
I
He
really
sucks at
don't
his
know.
job. Can we talk about that? How does that guy have a job and I don't? He
Yeah, I don't
sucks at
know.
his job.
I think it's a method, right? You get your victim to come invest in traveling to a certain location. And the more you invest, the more you feel like you are in that kind of pseudo relationship,
I
right?
feel like
Like if the
no.
catfisher knows that you traveled,
I
there's a
feel like
risk
that
that
would. You're proving the suspect. No, not suspect. Victim's point by never showing your face to them in
uh
person. I feel like that would turn a lot of people away from you.
I for sure, but it didn't turn away everybody, right? Like your former
I
boss,
think dropping that L bomb is key. I think that man's
right?
was on to
And that
something.
dude did drop
They're
the L
good.
bomb on my mom. He
Who
did.
did?
Yeah, oh yeah, he did. He dropped it. Like, and I asked her about that too. I was like, dang, that's pretty quick. When did he start messaging? Then she looked up the timeline. It was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks
Did she
then.
say it back?
I think my mom did. Yeah, I think so too.
No.
She was like sent little
Kissy
meme
face,
back. Not a
kissy
meme, but like
face,
one of those
kissy
animations.
face.
Yeah, kissy face thing. Yeah.
No.
So totally got my mom for sure. But once I told her, my mom believed me. She just cut him off immediately because
Dang.
yeah, because my mom trusts me, right?
She
So
said, "How dare you drop the L bomb?" And now I'm starting to think that you didn't even mean it.
no, she just cut him off immediately. I think my mom is super cautious now. Every time she messages
Good.
with anybody, yeah, as she should be, right? That's
Oh,
crazy.
if I had no morals,
Catfishers.
that would be my day job. That's so easy. You just butter them
Oh,
up, say a little sweet nothings.
they're targeting these old Asian ladies like my
I
mom.
think they target
So
older people in general just because they're not
dude,
as
they're
tech
generally
savvy.
more lonely as well, and yeah,
Yeah.
not as tech savvy, but also the loneliness epidemic hitting them
But
pretty
that's
hard,
because men are weird. That's men. That's not in
men
general. The
and
lonely
women.
usually when they talk about the loneliness epidemic, they're talking about younger generations because
They're talking about everybody, like everybody's more alone than ever. Even though everybody feels all connected, dude, via the social networks and everything, but everyone's
Ah,
more lonely than ever
it's because they always on that
compared to
goddamn
like
phone.
30 years ago. Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah,
Also,
people
there's
don't
so many more
realize.
people alive right now, so it's hard to get anywhere
Uh-huh.
without
That
having to
is
sit in traffic for like a freaking hour.
Uh-huh. That's true. That's true. But you can base it off of per capita loneliness if you want percentages.
Mm,
But everyone's on their phone. And just because you're on your phone and you're texting and you're seeing everybody on video and whatever, you're not there with them physically.
yeah.
You're just casting out to a crowd. You're still alone. You're just an audience member,
Do you
right?
hear that, everyone? Kevin's advice is if you don't want to be lonely, just start messaging the elderly, man. See what they got in those pockets. See what that
Yeah,
401
socialize with them.
kizzy looking like.
For sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
it'd be such an easy way to make money, for sure.
Talk
Especially
to
because now
old
I got all
people.
these pointers, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I got all these tips and tricks how to catfish successfully. I got a skyscraper right now being built, little
Just,
country somewhere.
just Just talk to the older people because they are lonely. They just want to talk.
They really do. They love
Uh-huh.
talking.
For sure. For sure. And if they have no heirs or heiresses, that's it. You're set.
That's only if they decide to. Some old people are cheap. My grandpa, for some reason, he like doesn't want to spend money. And my mom always tells him, you know, when you die, you don't take the money with you, right? Because he's so cheap that instead of cooking for himself or buying food, like eating out, he just eats whatever they have at his like little retirement home. But then he complains about the food to my mom. And she's like, well, then why don't you go out and buy yourself some food? And he just doesn't want to because he doesn't want to spend money.
That's
So,
frugal. It's like my
yeah.
little
So,
bro. My little bro is very frugal as well. But
but
nothing
he's
wrong with
like,
that.
no, there's, I
Frugal
mean,
to a
unless
fault.
if you're old and these are possibly your last meals that you're having, but you're like, you know,
Really?
I'm not wrong.
No, you're not
Dude,
wrong, but
I think about that all the time.
even right now, no
Even
way.
right now,
You're like eating your ravioli. This could be my last meal before
it
I get
could.
shot in the head by a stray bullet
Hey man, we're in America.
in the
That is
city.
not, that's feasible. It's
You were
reasonable.
probably thinking that when you were on the plane, on the flight, and you know how they're giving the flight meal, the in-flight
No,
meals.
on the flight, I was
This
so
could be
drugged
my
up.
last meal.
Nope, on the flight, I was drugged. I had a bunch of Atarax in my system. That's the drug that I take for flights. Incredible. Zen. That is like the best drug in the world. I asked my doctor for it. She gave me some pills, took three of them. And my friend said that she knows my anxiety is really strong because she took one of those pills and she said she was asleep in her tuna. That she fell asleep while she was eating tuna and that her parents tried to wake her up, but they couldn't because
Oh,
she was out.
oh
And I
my
told her I had three of
God.
those pills and I hadn't fallen asleep yet, but I was zen. I was so chill. Not a care in the
Wow,
world.
not even falling
Chilling.
asleep. You're
No,
not even watching the in-flight movies
I
or
was watching the movies. I was watching
okay.
movies or like reading, but I was so zen, so I didn't even care about my little meals. They
I
weren't that
wonder
bad
what would
though.
happen if you hit serious turbulence. Would you still be zen?
Yeah, I was well zen.
You would still be zen.
I was still zen, but turbulence doesn't cause plane crashes, so I
But
have
you
the
get
knowledge.
scary ones and everything vibrating and shaking and
Nah, that's
people flying out of seats, hitting their heads
oh,
against the
I always
ceiling.
keep my
You would,
seatbelt on. You're supposed to always keep your seatbelt on,
yeah.
but me, drugged up, chilling. I could have smacked my head. I would have been so chill.
How were you once you got off the plane? Were you
I was
still
just tired.
chill,
You
still
just feel like
zen?
very, you know, like have you ever had a little spa day? Have you ever like gone and
Never,
gotten a
never in
massage?
my life.
You know
Never.
what? You know what I
I've
think?
been working my whole life.
You know what you need to do,
Ain't nobody
Kevin?
got time for that.
You need to get so drunk that you're hungover and Her Highness has to take care of you again. You need to do that
She got
every
no time
day.
for that now.
Every day.
I
Use
would
your
pass out on the
kids.
floor
Child
and I
labor.
would
Use
wake
your
up on the
children.
floor.
Make your
Oh no.
kids pamper
No
you.
way. The kids don't know how to pamper me.
Well, write them instructions. Have a little practice day on Her Highness, of course. You don't have to have the practice. You get the good 10-star thing. And then that's it. Get just super drunk. Next day you wake up, oh man, I'm so tired. I really need some delicious steak right now. And then in 10 minutes, someone's gonna massage my feet. And then in 20 minutes, someone's gonna massage my back. And then have them
Yeah, I
play the
wish.
piano for you. Nice little harp, little chill day. That's what I was thinking in the last episode when you were saying that she pampered you really well when you were hungover that one time. You just gotta be
The
hungover
the
again,
one and
man.
only, the one and only
No.
when she
I'm
got
gonna
me on the
find
hook,
you an
and that
old
was it.
relic. I'm gonna find you Bacardi 151. You're gonna take one
I think
shot.
you can still find it. I think you might
They
still be able
sell
to
it.
find it on eBay. Yeah, I
I
think
got you,
so.
man. You're about to have the best spa day of your freaking life. Don't you even worry. As long as you make it to the next day, you're gonna have the
Uh,
best spa day. But you know what? Because I'm your friend and I care, I'll dump the bottle out and then I'll fill that actual bottle with water. That way you're not actually hungover for your spa day. And then you're gonna take like 3 shots in front of Her
uh-huh.
Highness. And then I got you, dude. No worries. It feels like that though.
Oh
It feels like
man.
very relaxed. Like if you're like very, very, very relaxed. And like if you just had like a massage. And
But then,
then,
isn't there like a come down, like a after side effect, or
mm-mm,
no, nothing?
no,
That'd be
it's
crazy. Wouldn't
what's
you
the
get
drug?
physically dependent on it? Like
No,
when people
absolutely not.
continue to
It's
take
just
it?
a central nervous system suppressor or something like that.
Well, what are the analogs? I mean, isn't the same thing if people take like Xanax or something like that,
I think it's similar.
right?
Maybe
So
it's in that
people
family.
people abuse Xanax
It
for
is
sure.
it's hydroxyzine hydrochloride, a prescription antihistamine.
Okay,
Uses
antihistamines are
anxiety
very, very
to
interesting.
uses anxiety, allergies, and sedation. So maybe that's why my friend fell asleep in her
That's very
tuna.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
used
mean,
to treat
Claritin's the
anxiety and
antihistamine,
tension.
right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And especially individuals with emotional or mental disorders
Yeah,
represent
that's
side
wild.
effects, drowsiness, dry mouth, um, less common but more serious side effects, confusion, tremors, and seizures. And then, yeah, it says that it's a central nervous system depressant, reduces activity in certain parts of the central nervous system, which helps with anxiety and sedation. Dude,
Crazy.
that's the drug right there.
Uh-huh.
Forget weed, you know, forget heroin, forget cocaina. Get you some
Get the Xan
Atrax.
get the Xanax.
No, but it is really good for just being paranoid about planes because that was my first long plane ride. It's like took 20 hours, not
Yeah, that's a
straight. It was
long
a
one.
15 hour and then an 18 hour. How many hours is that? 23
No,
hours?
that can't be it. No way. That's a really long. You 15 and 8, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, 15 and 8.
Okay.
We
Okay.
the first flight was 15 hours to Qatar, and then from Qatar to Indonesia was 8 hours. But that
That's
first 15 hours, so chill. I used to take
okay.
it
That's
before our
kind of
meetings
crazy.
sometimes.
I feel like you flew the wrong way around the
I
world.
did. We did.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's really wild. Why would
That's why it was
anybody
so
do
long.
that? That's
Because it's
crazy.
cheaper,
Why would you
man.
do
You
that?
always
Oh
say the
my
most
gosh.
judgmental. Why would
Because
any
normally it's only like
stupid
15
little
hours. Just
idiots
go the right
ever do that?
direction.
My papa would never let me take such a long route. My time is precious. Sorry, Kevin. Some of us are trying to fly as cheaply as we
Some of us
can.
are in the 99%,
Some of us
me
cannot.
included.
That's why I took the long route, sir. It was cheaper.
It was
Jeez.
cheaper by
It
$15.
was cheaper. My mom is the type that even if it's like $15, she wants to save it. She's the type of person that will argue for like her however much money left. Like if it's
That's
like
kind of
a couple dollars, she's gonna argue for
it
it.
makes no sense. It's like Her Highness, she'll go up to me and she'll try to save like 15, $10 on, I don't know, like buying. some chicken thighs or something like that. But then she'll go out buy herself a handbag that's like $500 more than it didn't make no sense.
Okay, yeah, that one's
Or she's looking
different.
at two dresses and one dress is like $200 more than the other dress, and I'd be like, "Ooh, that cheaper dress looks nicer." She's like, "No, no, no, this one looks nicer. I'm getting this one." It didn't make no sense.
That's different.
You
My mom was cheap in every category.
sure about that? I don't
For
know.
sure. For sure. I can guarantee it.
She must
Like I
have some
said,
very
because when you're
niche hobby.
poor, when you're no, she doesn't have hobbies.
Okay. No
A lot of people
hobbies,
don't
just
have hobbies
curiosity.
actually. I've
No, I
discovered.
can't believe that. No, everybody's got to have a hobby.
No,
Something you do in your idle time. What do your mom
no.
do in her idle time?
Watch TV.
That's her hobby, watching
That's
TV.
not a hobby,
That
dude.
is a hobby, watching
Uh-uh.
TV.
All
She
right,
can
no.
go on one of the trivia shows about TV. She'd be killing it
All right,
because
this is
that's her
what
hobby,
Google
watching
says
TV.
hobbies are: knitting, painting, sewing, crochet, woodworking, photography, writing, dance,
Watching
drawing,
TV. I mean, I don't
exercise.
understand.
Where? It does not say watching TV.
You got to ask AI, is watching TV or even cinema, is that a hobby? Sure can be.
It says it can be a hobby. Let's see. Generally defined as an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure.
Uh-huh.
Someone enjoys
Done
watching TV,
regularly.
specific shows or movies, and dedicates time to it. It could be considered a hobby.
Yes, I told you.
I think, okay,
Cinemaphiles, hobby.
fine. Let me,
Foodies, that's a hobby, right? Can you say I'm a foodie? That's your hobby?
I
I'm a
think
foodie.
most people don't have hobbies outside of screens or food.
I think that's 99% of
Boom.
people today. Everybody's on the
Boom.
screen,
Yeah.
except for the Amish.
I think
Everybody's totally on the screen. Once the Amish pull out their smartphone while they're sitting in their horse carriage, that's the end. That's it. We're
I think
done.
when I think of hobbies, I think of like video games, reading, knitting,
See, reading is consuming.
painting,
How can reading be different than watching something coming through
because
your
you have to
eyeballs?
use your brain a lot more to read than you do when you're watching TV. It takes
So
a lot
you're
more
saying
work.
hobbies require brain power because you still got
Yes,
to
yes.
understand stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
whether you're watching TV but you're reading the subtitles. Oh, checkmate.
sure.
Uh-huh.
But you have
Yeah,
the I
you're
think
reading,
the
quote
reason
unquote.
reading is harder is because you have to create you're using creativity, right? You have
Uh-huh.
to create the
Okay.
world in your brain. You have to create the characters in your brain. You
I
have
think that's
to
something that can be okay. I think that's another word for it, creative hobbies. So you ask
sure.
someone, "Do you have any creative hobbies?" Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay,
They can't
okay,
say
you're right.
watching TV, but creative hobbies, yeah, you can be like a baker or an
Or a
artist
writer.
or a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
musician, a
Yep.
writer.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that takes a lot more work though to do, being creative. So
uh-huh.
that's why I think that I consider reading a hobby over watching
Okay.
TV because you
But
have to do
creative,
work.
I don't know if reading can even be a hobby. I don't know.
Ahem.
I don't know. I don't think
While
so.
both reading and watching
It's
TV
not a
involve
creative hobby, right?
engaging with information, reading generally requires more mental effort and focus than passively watching a screen. Reading
Okay.
necessitates active imagination and interpretation, while TV
Okay.
provides a pre-visualized and largely passive experience. Boom!
All
Bomb.
right.
Regular
Okay,
bomb dropped.
sure. Sure.
Look at that.
So I can't be saying that eating potato chips is my hobby because
I
I
don't
love to
think
do
so.
that.
That's just something you can do mindlessly.
Okay.
I would
Can't be.
argue it's not a hobby. I would say
Okay.
active engagement is when it's a hobby. When you have to troubleshoot sometimes too. Like if you're knitting and you mess up, you have to figure out how to fix it. Video games, I think require,
Okay, I like that. I like if you have to troubleshoot something, that's a hobby.
yeah, or
That's a
like if
good
you're reading
that's a
a
good
book
point.
and it's a mystery book, you're thinking of the hypotheticals, right? It's making you
Uh,
think a lot more. Whereas, sure, you
okay.
can argue that you're doing that for TV sometimes, but I think when it's a book, it's harder because sometimes they don't show you. characters. So you don't realize someone is the same person as this
Yeah, I don't know
person.
about that. I think
I know
TV and
about that.
books are the same category, consuming
No. Okay, do you
consumption. I
think
think so. I think
audiobooks,
so.
would you consider audiobooks reading?
I think so. Yeah, you're getting the same
Kevin, oh
material. You
hell
are. You're
no.
getting the same
You're
material.
wrong.
You're literally getting.
Dude, you're
Okay, okay,
using
okay.
two different senses
So
to
you're telling
consume the media.
a blind
No, stop
person,
doing this. Stop
you're
doing this. I'm
discriminating
obviously
against a
not
blind
talking
person.
to
You're like, you
people.
blind people, you can never read it ever because
I
you
am
don't have
not
eyeballs. I'm sorry,
talking to
blind folks.
people with special needs. I'm
And the
talking
people
about
who are deaf,
people who are,
and
I'm
I'm
talking
just saying it's
about,
all the same. You're consuming a storyline and you're just extrapolating that in your mind. It's all the same.
no.
It can be a
Uh,
visual story, it could be a written story. It's still a story, right?
physically reading a book takes a lot more effort.
Okay.
It
Uh-huh.
takes concentration. It takes you seeing the words and figuring out
Okay.
how to
So
pronunciate them.
so that means if you're
Pronunciate,
watching
pronounce.
a TV show with subtitles, it, you need even more brain power because you're visually digesting everything that's happening on the screen. You're listening to all the sounds that's coming out of the TV, and you have to meld all of them together while reading the subtitles of the
I
dialogue
would say
as
reading in
well.
general alone, I think is harder than watching TV with subtitles or listening to like I would not consider
I
audiobooks
find that
reading.
logic very, very difficult to believe.
That's
What do you
because you're
think is
one of them.
harder?
That's because you're
Yeah, no, no,
one of them
no,
and you're
no,
offended.
no, 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 no.
No,
Like
I'm right. I'm right. You're like those people, like those
you gotta
Americans
do
who like to eat 5,000 calories and they get upset when someone's like, hey, don't do that.
no,
It's not healthy. They're like,
no,
don't tell
no
me that.
way. Because you got to do more than
Uh,
one thing at the same time. Because is riding a bike harder than riding a bike and juggling at the same time? For sure, 100%, right? Because you got to juggle while riding a bike. But
these
you're
are
saying that
physical things that you're doing, though. Those are physical. You have to use a part of your brain. The
physically
le
have to use your ears to listen. You got to
you're
physically
using,
use your eyes to scan the TV. You
uh-uh.
gotta,
You're
uh-huh,
wrong. This
yeah.
is my boomer take. Reading and audiobooks are not the same. Listening to an audiobook is not reading.
Well, that's gonna
That's
be very
cheating. You
controversial.
can put it on 2x and be like, I just read this book in an hour. That's not fair. Absolutely not.
If
It takes you way longer to read a book than it does to listen to an audiobook on 2x speed.
hobbies isn't
I
about
could
fairness,
totally,
though. Nobody cares
he's
about
doing
fairness in
he's doing
hobbies.
this crap again. We're gonna have a meeting after this podcast, y'all. I'll have to
how
tell Kevin.
how about you ask that one dude who says, "Oh yeah, mountain climbing is my hobby," and then he goes up, get carried up by the Sherpas up Mount Everest, holding his oxygen bottles and tanks and everything, right?
Oh my
That's
gosh,
not
I
a
became
hobby then.
obsessed with no, it's not. I don't I think
Oh, so you
that's
agree?
another
That's not a
thing.
hobby. Yeah, oh,
If
I'm
you
not.
have a Sherpa carry everything up for you, no, you can't brag and be like, I scaled Mount Everest.
So that person can't even say mountain climbing is a hobby for
Not if
that
you're
person.
making not if you're paying someone to be your pack mule.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And that person can't even say mountain climbing is more of a hobby for that person than mountain climbing is a hobby for you because that person climbed Everest, even with the
I
Sherpa and
like
all the
okay,
bottles.
normally I'm not comparing hobbies like we are right now. It's just
Yeah,
because
we getting into nitty
feel
gritty because
I
this is the
feel
argument.
strongly about audiobooks and I think it's not fair to like listen to an audiobook on like freaking 2x speed and then be like, I just read a book in an hour. I just read 5 books today. No,
Okay,
no,
but
no,
let me
no.
bring up another example.
But the Sherpa thing is
You,
different because they're literally exploiting these people and using them as like pack mules to carry all their stuff up the mountain.
which is
I think
true.
you saying like very proudly that you have gone up Mount Everest, like yes, it's still physically demanding and taxing on your body, but you got it easy. You wouldn't have been
Yeah,
able to go up that
100%.
mountain unless someone carried all that stuff for you.
Mm-hmm. and oxygen bottles. The
Exactly, all the
Sherpos aren't sipping
oxygen,
on the
the
oxygen.
food, their all of their materials that they need to scale that mountain, they wouldn't have been able to do it if they didn't have that person carrying their stuff
Oh
for
yeah,
them.
100%.
So
They
that's why
all
I'm like,
agree with that.
that's also BS.
Yeah,
That's in
but
the no-no jar of
imagine
activity.
this other situation for your audiobook hate that you're spewing out right now. Let's say that you meet someone and you talk to someone, just cool
No, I'm
person,
not
it's
gonna
this cool
meet anyone.
person who
Never.
wears
So I can
glasses.
never
His
let
name
you
is
be
Kevin,
right.
and you ask Kevin, you say, "Oh, hey, do you read the Three Body Problem?" And then this Kevin says, "Oh yeah, I totally read it." And you and Kevin end up getting in this nice discussion about Three Body Problem for a few hours. Say, "Oh man, he really read this book," and blah 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 blah. We know so much, discussing these little nitty gritty details at length. And then in the very end of this nice, pleasant conversation about this book that you love so much, Kevin tells you, "Oh, you know what? Um, actually, I never read it. I listened to the audiobook
That's
on 2x speed." How would you feel? Like that
I
didn't
think
change the entire
it
pleasant
doesn't, but
discussion.
I think you should tell someone like, oh yeah, I didn't read it, but I listened to the audiobook. Because like I said, those are two different senses. Using your
But
eyes to process words versus just listening. Like, let's be honest, if you read a word and you don't know what the word is, you're gonna look it up. Whereas if someone's talking to you and telling you this, I don't know,
uh-huh.
hypochondriac, you just kind of are like, you don't even like think to
No,
look it
not.
up.
I don't know. You can still
Most
look up
people
words that you
are
hear.
lazy. I think seeing it, learning how to pronounce it,
Oh no.
yes,
I think
this is
you're
my boomer take.
discriminating. You're
No,
discriminating
I'm
against
not
all the
saying
blind
it's not,
people, against all
oh,
of the
stop.
dyslexic people,
No,
all of the
no, no,
people,
no, no.
poor people with
I think
dyslexia. I'm
obviously
sorry,
if you,
kids.
let's see what it says about your brain.
Because isn't it more important to be able to just have the material absorbed? Doesn't matter if you read it or hear it or get told it from
Are
someone else. I don't
audiobooks
know.
or reading
Just saying.
better for
You're going to get a very heated debate on that. Because there are some
reading
pros.
may enhance comprehension and retention slightly due to the ability to reread and visually scan, while audiobooks
Okay.
can be more engaging emotionally due to the narrator's
There you
voice
go.
and can
There
be
you
helpful.
go.
There was just a pro for each of our arguments in that
I
sentence.
know, but that pro
Hold,
for the reading
hold up,
or listening is pretty
hold up,
strong. Engaging, storytelling, right?
hold up for your brain. I'm trying to see. Some studies suggest reading may be slightly better for memory. Both formats
Okay.
can aid in information retention, though.
There you go. That's all that matters, right? Information
But
retention.
some studies suggest that it's better to read for your memory.
Yeah, just it I mean, in the grander scheme of thing, I don't think it matters at all
In
how you
general,
how you absorbed your
uh,
books. I don't think it matters. I'm not hating on anybody. You want to read
reading
your book or
can
hear your books?
foster stronger visualization and potentially better comprehension of complex text. Boom,
No, I don't know. I don't know. Can you
boom.
imagine
I
you're
think
in
it's
you're in a
fine.
room of little kids
Oh my
and you
God, you
say,
keep
"It's
doing this.
bedtime, kids."
Imagine you just chopped
Let's
off this kid's
let's
arms
no, no,
and
no.
now
It's
you
not going to be
can't read
that
the
crazy.
book. What happens then,
Instead,
Ray? Huh? How come that kid
no.
with the chopped off arms
No.
can't read the book? This is what you keep doing to me.
No, no.
No.
So imagine you're in a room with a few kids and it's time for bedtime. And I tell the kids, instead of reading to them, you're going to have to read yourself. So I put the book up on a wall on a projector and they have to raise their hand when they're done reading that page and I can flip to the next page. It'd be terrible. but I read to them, right? And it's more fun.
According to, but that's it's stimulating your brain. Apparently, at UC Berkeley, they're saying that there might not be a big difference,
Oh,
but
there
there's
you
still a
go.
difference. There's still a difference. You
No,
hear
no,
that?
no
There's still a
difference. No
difference.
difference. There's no difference.
Small difference. They didn't say no
No,
difference. They said
they
not
just
a big difference, but there's still a
not a significant difference, which means there's no difference.
no.
If they can't see a
What
difference, there's
the
no
hell?
difference.
Dude, your arguments with Her Highness must go crazy. Oh
No, it's just
man. I would,
if
she said, you said, oh, you don't have that much money. No, I have no money. I said I had no money. That's different than a little money.
no, I don't
A
agree
little
with that.
difference.
It's like
I don't care what people do, obviously. I don't care if you read or listen to an audiobook. I just think that it is not the same thing. And saying I read 20 books this week sounds way different and is way different than I listened to 20 books this week because
okay,
it's
I
two
think that's
different
fair.
things.
I
Yeah.
think if you listen to a book, you definitely have no right in claiming that you read a book. No
What
way.
the? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Do you
Right.
guys
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
this?
No, no.
This
No, no, no. I
listen,
agree
viewers.
with
No, we
that.
have on recording right
You
now that
okay, okay,
Kevin did
okay.
this whole argument with me for fun, for love of the game. Where's Her
No, no, no.
Highness? I need her
No.
here.
Technically, you're right.
She's a
Like if
victim of your arguments because
if you
I'm
didn't
here
read a book,
fighting for my
yeah,
life, saying they're not
sure.
the same thing. I think they're the same thing. They're the same thing. It's fine.
It's the same thing that you consume a book, but yeah, but if you listen to a book, I don't think anybody who listened to a book will tell you, "Oh, I read that book." They'll say, "Oh,
Yes.
I listened to the
Yes.
audiobook." Yeah, yeah,
No.
that's right. That's
No.
right.
People on TikTok will
What?
be like, "Oh
No.
yeah, I've read 10 books so far." And you're like, "Dang, they read fast." And then you find out that it's an audiobook. No.
Okay, that's messed up. I agree with you. That
What
is
the?
messed up.
Oh
No,
my
no, no.
God,
I
Kevin.
thought
What?
that. No, I thought you were talking about it's yet I think there are different ways to consume books, whether
Yeah,
you listen to it the
consume is a
audiobook.
different word though.
Yes, that's
Consume
right. Yeah.
media
You're
versus
consuming it. Yeah.
reading versus
Uh-huh. Yes.
audiobook. If you're like, I read 10 books today,
Uh-huh.
someone's thinking like they're a fast reader.
Uh-huh. I
It's not
think
the same.
I don't care about how people consume their books. I think everyone to each their own, right? But if you say you read a book, you have to literally be reading. So you can't say you read a book if you listen to a book. And I would agree in the converse as well. You can't say you read a book when you actually heard. I mean, you can't say you heard a book when you read a book as
You
well.
know what I
It goes
think?
both ways.
I think you need to work in a clinic where people have hypotension
Uh-huh.
and you just argue for the other side for like 15 minutes or however much time just went by. You're going to
Uh-huh.
bring their blood pressure right up to normal by making them argue with you about the thing that you actually do
That
agree
is what I should
about.
do. Yeah. Oh, am I bringing your blood pressure up too high? And I gotta give you some medication
Yeah,
to bring
because
it
you're
back
over
down.
here making it sound like I am discriminating when I'm not. I think if you have to listen to a book because you have different needs than others, obviously I'm not gonna make you feel bad. I'm not gonna make you feel bad if you prefer to listen to audiobooks in general. But they're not the same. It's not
Yeah.
the
No,
same.
no. You're saying if you heard a book, you can't ever claim you read the book.
Yes,
That's
because
your
people
point.
online will say,
Yeah.
I've read 50 books, da da
Yeah.
da.
So when that person comes up and he had the red and white walking stick and got the sunglasses on and said, I read a couple books. Yeah. No, you
Stop
didn't.
it.
You're
Stop
blind.
it.
You ass. You
Oh
are
my
blind. You
God.
totally did not read that book. You
N-
were born without eyeballs. How dare you say you read?
oh my
I'm sorry. I'm
goodness.
sorry,
No,
Ray.
I
I
would
mean, I
never
heard a
say
book.
that.
Clearly, I'm blind. Don't you see my red and white walking stick? I'm
My cats
You're
are really
Your cat
liking
is going
interrupting
up to you,
today.
trying to tell you to stop this debate about how people consume books in different ways and to each their own.
Nah,
Leave them be.
this this is what we call in my country some bullshit. You just did a bait and switch, man. I
Some
swear to
vaca
God.
caca.
This
Is that
is
right? Some vaca caca? Did I
yeah,
just invent that? Vaca caca.
you did that.
Now you know for sure.
Oh
Oh,
man.
some vaca caca.
Where I'm from, this is what we call slander. This is what we call mentally just playing mind games, dude. I
No,
swear to God.
when you go volunteer at the orphanage and you tell the kids to read their books, and this one kid with the patches on the eyes tell you, "Oh, but I can't read," and you say, "That's too bad. Because
Oh
that's the
my
only
God.
good way to consume books."
No.
And if you don't have those eyeballs, like you got to pick up Braille. You got to. I'm not going to
Welcome
read to you
to
for sure, but you got
episode
to.
12, where we get canceled before we've even established a fan base. All four of our
So,
friends canceling us.
what do you think about Braille reader reading then?
Kevin, I'm not
Like
talking
that
about
takes
people
even
who have
more brain
special
power.
needs. I'm
No, I'm
talking.
saying that you're blind and now you had to read by feeling the letters with your fingers. But I imagine
That
that
definitely takes
they're
so much
reading.
effort.
What? Really? Yeah, it does take effort, but I'm saying how they consuming the book. Do you think it's going to be the same with eyeballs?
I think that is reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
You're
it's a
picturing
different.
the letters in your mind as your
Yeah,
fingers
that's
are
hard.
scrolling,
That's hard. You're
right?
learning a like a language
You're
that
feeling it.
not a lot of people know. That's just a
Uh-huh.
harder life in general. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not talking about people with special needs. I just want that to be on the
Be on the
record.
record.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My
Okay.
goodness.
All right. Okay. Well,
Anyways,
enough with the debate with reading versus listening. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter if you listen or you read books. I don't think that's a creative hobby as much as eating potato chips or watching TV. I think it's they're all the same.
no, I disagree. I
Final. That's my
disagree.
final point. Yeah.
I disagree strongly.
Okay.
That's my boomer take. We need to put the black mirrors down. We gotta go
You
outside, touch grass, do stuff that's not on a screen.
okay? Oh, okay. But reading a book on a phone.
Sure,
Okay,
sure,
but that's a screen though.
sure. That is the
Is a
acceptable
Kindle a
version.
screen? Okay, Kindle's a
But
screen as
those
well.
are acceptable. Obviously I'm talking about like doom scrolling,
You know,
you know?
all of the TikTok videos always have words, right? The captions, whatever. Do they?
Yeah,
You
but
know how
that's
they?
like,
That's
oh
reading as
man,
well.
you know
All
what?
of the Gen Alpha kids are
No,
saying, "I'm
no.
reading now. Look, I'm reading all these TikTok videos."
It's sad to go onto TikTok and you go through the comments and people really don't know how to spell.
Oh, that's
Really.
always been the case in many generations.
I remember when I was
You
like a
know,
10-year-old and
when I
people
was a
couldn't spell
kid,
like there, and there. I thought they were so stupid. I was like, oh my God, you idiot! Get out of
oh,
my
that still
face.
happens even today,
I know.
even among adults,
I
among
know.
boomers.
Apparently, literacy rate in America is sixth grade. A lot of people read it at sixth grade level.
I find that surprising because TikTok has all of the captions going on. So
Dude, that is
don't. I mean,
they're
why put on
reading
captions if no
mostly
one reads them?
articles. Those things are mostly the a food. It's like easy words. There's nothing complex, you know?
Oh, but okay, all right. So consuming TikTok is not a hobby then. I take it.
No, no.
Oh, so that means most kids today have no hobbies
That's what
because they're all on
oh my
TikTok.
y'all, we're ending this podcast episode. Kevin's trying to push my buttons. I
For
said that
sure.
20 minutes ago, and you said I
Okay.
would disagree with that. Dude, it's on recording. It's here. I have proof.
Yeah, sure. But if you only if you say that reading books is also not a hobby, then I can agree.
What?
But reading books not hobbies. If you got to say reading a book is a hobby, then scrolling on TikTok is a hobby, or watching TV is a hobby as well. It's the same thing. Getting a story, right? You're watching a
Uh-uh.
TV show. You're getting a story, just like you're reading a book. You're getting a story.
Reading
You
can
can,
definitely be considered a hobby. Some argue it's an interest or pastime, but the Oxford Dictionary defines a hobby as an activity done in leisure time for pleasure, and reading often fits that description. Reading for
okay.
enjoyment, exploring
Mhm.
diverse genres, or even participating in book
Okay.
clubs
You
are
could
all
do that.
examples of how reading can be a hobby.
Hold up. You can replace books with TV in that sentence, in all of those sentences, and still come up with the same stuff.
I don't think
Um,
people do that for shows and stuff, though.
you can have show clubs. You can watch shows and still discuss it with your friends. We do that all the time. When we're watching Game of Thrones, we'll be talking about Game of Thrones, and or when we watch our other TV shows that we watch, or watch movies, we'll talk about movies, right?
I think in
We did
general,
a podcast on The Substance. We watched that.
I
That's
think in
like kind of like a
general,
book club, but a movie
growing up,
club.
I just always thought of hobbies as stuff that was not non-TV.
I think books are a dying breed, right?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go toward the. Do you think 100 years from now we'll still have books? 100 years from now,
I don't even,
or are
it's
we
hard
gonna
for
have
me to
like
even
crazy
think.
chipmunk audiobooks that we can listen to in our sleep? I don't know, but I feel like the physical book is gonna be a dying breed, right? Nobody's
You know
gonna
what?
have
I'm gonna
printed
say
books
my other
anymore.
boomer take, as tech gets smarter, we get dumber.
100% agree with that.
Boom. Mic drop. You're
Boom from a
you're probably
boomer.
I think people will think of books as like a little, what do they call it? Like vintage activity. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh my
just like vinyl
God."
records. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly like
Put my
that.
book
Yeah.
next to my vinyl record, next to my cassette player.
Or use them
Next,
as decor, like aesthetically pleasing.
they are used in decor now. I have
Yeah.
them up on my wall. My records.
No, I mean, that's fine, but I do think you're right. It'll be a dying activity. A lot of bookstores close down, and a lot of libraries are starting to
Yeah, we have
probably
some
close.
closed down too.
That's
Yeah, little
sad.
bookstores.
That's
Yeah,
sad. You know what's
it
interesting
is
though is
sad.
that I noticed when
Barnes
I
and Noble
traveled,
doing good though.
I know I'm surprised by that.
I know. They're
There's like
always happening.
half price books. That's the place to be.
Uh-huh. The
That is
used
the place.
bookstores.
Yeah, for sure. Barnes and Noble, 2 books, you're like at $40.
Uh-huh. They are pricey.
Pricey, pricey, pricey. Yeah, I noticed when I was overseas that kids don't have phones and tablets. They don't like go on devices. They're just present.
Oh, I don't know about that. When I was in Thailand and Vietnam, everyone was on their phones.
Really?
Yeah, for
The
sure.
little
I mean,
kids?
where were you? Did you go into like the Amazon forest where you were
No.
hanging out
We
with the
were
native people with no phones? They were
in
just like in
Indonesia.
loincloths and bow and arrow hunting.
In Indonesia, people were very present. The kids were like talking with their parents, talking with their siblings, or like playing with physical toys.
I don't know.
And then
I'm pretty sure everyone's got phones.
In Scotland too is the same thing. I noticed there were no
No,
kids on like tablets and stuff. I think it's here in America. They got you
they were hiding
addicted,
it away
man.
from
They
you.
got you addicted to the phones. They got you addicted to the food.
Yeah, my
We're gonna
kids
be
were
we're gonna
always
be
on
like
their
Wally
screens. Yeah, I always say that. We totally gonna be like Wally, sitting in these pods, just moving
rolling
around,
around.
screen in front of us, trash everywhere, big ass Slurpee we're slurping on, all obese, we can't even move anymore. That's where we're heading for sure. Why not? But it's either gonna be Wally or the Matrix. Both of them are similar, right? We're just in a little pod and
What's
we're plugged in.
Matrix?
You never watched the Matrix?
I never watched it. I think I know what it's kind of about.
You got to watch it. Just the first one. You don't need to watch the other ones.
Why are they bad?
I mean, they're not as good as the first one for sure. But
Uh,
you only need to watch the first one, and that's it. That's all you need to
that's
know.
when they move in like slow-mo, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
What
good
is it? Like they're
movie.
living like a video game life,
I'm
kind
not
of?
gonna spoil it. No, you gotta watch
Oh,
it.
I'll
I
just
can't
Google
spoil
it.
it for you.
That's
No,
how
you gotta watch it. Come
Ready
on, this is
Player
two
One.
hours. This is like you really bashing on the audiobook people listening to 2x speed shit. You're like, I'm just gonna Google it. Same thing. I'm a boomer now trying to tell you just watch a 2 hour movie and you're just I'm gonna get the cliff notes, the Google summary, the Wikipedia, the synopsis.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't cheat.
Yeah, I feel
Put in
like,
the effort.
have you ever read or watched the movie Ready Player One?
No, I you watched the movie.
I did both. I read the book and I watched the movie. And see, notice how I didn't say, never mind. And that one they live like virtually all the time, like
Mm,
basically in like an AI virtual
yeah.
world
Yeah, I watched the
24/7.
movie.
You did?
Yeah, I watched the movie. I
Dude,
told you that. I
you're
just know.
tri I think
I
I'm
just said
tripping. I
I
swear you said
watched
you
it.
didn't.
You said I didn't read the book, but I watched the movie.
You said that or I said that?
I said that. Yeah. You
Dude,
said, "Did you read
I
it?" And
forgot.
I said, "No, I didn't read it, but I watched it." Right? Anyways,
I'm gonna replay
we'll
this
find
later
out.
because I
Okay,
feel like
sure,
you're
sure.
messing with me, dude. Go work for the CIA.
But
I
yeah,
feel like
I watched
this
the
is
movie.
actual
I
gaslighting.
watched Ready Player One. Yes, I watched it
Anyways,
with the kids.
yes, I feel like that would also be a thing for sure.
Yeah, but that one, it's always in all of these movies, all three of them, Wall-E, Matrix, Ready Player One, it's always a dystopian world, but then the virtual
Yeah,
world is
it's like a
always nice and
utopia.
colorful and
Yeah.
pleasant. So I don't want to give away the Matrix, but you totally need to watch the Matrix because I feel like that's where we're heading, especially with AI coming about too. Wall-E didn't have too much AI going on. The Matrix actually had the AI
Mm.
incorporated.
Is
Ready
Wally
Player
himself?
One.
You wouldn't consider Wally himself AI?
Oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Because Wally kind of it's funny if you had all of the humans behave like robots, like lemmings, but
Hmm.
Wally was the only one that acts like a human, even though Wally's a robot,
That's
right?
true. Yeah, yeah.
It's like reversed.
Yeah, he has
So
emotions.
yeah, it's always funny. Oh, there was a recent one, the kind robot or nice robot. That was a
That
recent one.
sounds familiar.
This is a robot that takes care of these little animals and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
watched that on a plane. And you
Is it
know when
good?
you watch movies on the plane, you can't hear Jack.
Were you crying?
No, I wasn't, but I remember watching it with Her Highness, and yeah, no, I never tear up in movies.
Dude,
No,
heartless. No movies ever made you cry?
no, no, I
Interstellar?
don't. No,
Dude, do you
no,
need a cry?
no. I do. I
When was
cry,
the last
man.
time you cried? You gotta cry it out.
When my
You're gonna
dad
punch a
died.
wall like a little
Yeah,
Kevin.
no,
Like a
I
little Kevin,
cried.
like a little
Yeah.
Tyler or
I don't
something.
cry that much. I don't cry that much, but I feel like the older you get, the more
You
often you
haven't cried in
cry.
years?
No, I cry. I cry.
Do you need
I
to have
think
a
it's
quick cry?
I cry every time I shop up those onions. I like to shop at the onion that the kids walk in and they'll see me and I'll be like, I only asked that my kids get along with each other. That's what I'm thinking about.
That's the only time you let yourself cry. That's your excuse to cry. You
I
cut the
I
onions and you're
always
like, finally.
every single time I get a birthday, I get to make a birthday wish. I always make the same wish. And I tell my kids my wish is always the
You're not
same every
supposed to
year.
tell them what
I
your
tell
wish
them,
is.
I tell them straight up because I
It
want
doesn't
it to
come
kind of
true.
happen. Yeah, okay, maybe that's why it hasn't been coming true. But I tell them that I just want my kids to be like the two kids in Demon Slayer, Tanjiro and Nezuko. I want them to treat each other well, like how they treat each other well. But they
Hmm.
never. They beat each other up all the time, and I'm always joking. Why can't you be like Tanjiro and Nezuko, lovey-dovey, taking care of each other, literally, even though she's a demon and
And what do they
protecting
say?
her?
What are
They're
they
like,
even fighting about?
no, all kinds of
Besides
silly
entering
stuff.
the dream without the permission.
No, they're just yeah, that's funny. But they're just always yeah, it's always little stuff, but it's always short. But they don't yeah. They used to be lovey-dovey, huggy kissy when they
And then
were
what
like
happened?
4, 5, and 7. I don't know. Puberty. Now they're just
Ah,
dissing on each other, using slang, Gen Alpha slang and stuff,
get away from
and
me, you little
not so
skibbity
cute.
toilet. Yo,
Yeah, stuff
you
like that. It's like, why are you
stupid.
being all beta or why can't you be Sigma? Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
that's so
Why are you
cringy.
selling the bag and blah 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 blah. I'm cooking and why you not cooking and blah 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 blah. You know, I'm saying all this slang and stuff like
How can you
putting
be
each other
around it all
down and
day?
stuff. Yeah, right.
You have to
All
have like a
the
code to understand their conversation.
yeah, it's terrible, terrible. Can you imagine Tanjiro telling Nezuko that? Like,
Why are you so
why you not
beta?
cool? Yeah, why you so beta, Nezuko? Why?
Why can't you be Sigma like me?
Yeah, why you
Uh,
selling the bag? Why you making me do all the work? I don't know how.
there.
It's kind of funny. I can put in a phrase into AI and I'll tell it to translate it to Gen Alpha slang and it will tell me how to do it. And I'll just like text my kid that. The more I do that, the less of that slang they'll use. And then they'll talk like normal people. And who won?
Oh, you
Checkmate.
break them. You're like jailbreak them on accident.
Oh, yeah. Jailbreaking them on purpose.
Once you
Dude.
make them think it's no longer cool to talk like that.
Yeah. Once their dad and mom start, oh, no way I can get her
What's up,
highness.
my
to-
homie? They're like, oh, nope, done. Killed it.
It's true though, right? Can you imagine your mom and dad talking like you? You'd change, right? You don't want to sound like your mom and dad,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, fair. I do feel like my mom picks up some of our words though. Like I
Oh yeah.
remember,
What's a funny slang that she uses that you just notice and you're like, oh no, that's inappropriate. No, don't ever say that again. But we can say that.
I don't remember what she says lately. She did definitely pick up something my sister
Yeah.
had said that was funny, but I remember one time in high school, I was driving and I put on music that I was listening to, and then she just looks over at me and she's like, "So when did you get into trap music?" And I'm like,
No.
"Who taught you that? Where did you hear that?" I was so
No.
shocked. I was like, "What the heck?"
When do you like dubstep and Skrillex? When do you start listening to just drip music?
Yeah, actually, it was so weird. I
Oh,
was like,
that's great.
"Who taught you that?
How do
Don't
you
say
respond
that."
to that?
I said,
Yeah,
"Who taught you that?"
what'd she say?
She didn't say anything.
You did, Iha.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we've hit our hour again. I gotta go
Yeah,
work out. I'm trying to fix my mental health the old-fashioned way, you know?
make America healthy again,
Ugh,
Maha way.
please don't start a
I mean,
sentence
you started
ever.
it. You said
No,
exercise and nutrition.
no,
That is the two
no.
foundations to
Never say
Maha.
make
Yeah,
America anything to me. My
make
body has
America.
a physical response.
You just you're gonna have to work out another 15 minutes because I said
Yeah.
Maha.
Oh,
Oh,
my
okay. Well,
God.
you're making yourself healthy
We
that
said
way.
we wouldn't get political, but I would just like to go on the record and say, yuck,
Yeah.
disgusting.
You don't want to be healthy? We all want to be
I
healthy.
don't want
Eat
that
well,
orange
exercise well.
man to tell me what to do ever. Hate
But he
him.
already told you through his other Secretary of
And I'm
Health.
gonna say to both of them, go to hell.
But you're exercising just like what they're asking you to do.
No, I'm not doing it because
You're
they asked
following
me.
orders.
No,
And you're
stop
eating
it.
well. To eat well, exercise
You know
well.
what? Just because you told me this, I'm going straight to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a restaurant. What's close to me?
The unhealthy one, you mean? McDonald's?
Yeah, I'm gonna eat anything. I'm gonna eat
I'm gonna
all
go
kinds
straight
of
to
stuff.
McDonald's. I'm gonna order a salad over
Just
there.
because you said this, I'm getting 300 pounds.
Well, we already
Just,
had that discussion about the supersize me, right? How it's a fraud and everything. So McDonald's doesn't make
oh,
you unhealthy, apparently.
I'm gonna go drink some oil.
And drink some oil.
Makes you poop, actually. Fun fact.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
slide everything right out.
I finished listening to this podcast series about prohibition, and they tried to use like motor oil to distilled alcohol and give it to people. And
Ooh.
people were dying because alcohol was forbidden, right? So people were trying
Hmm.
all kinds of illegal, sketchy ways
Moonshine.
to
Getting
get their
blind,
moonshine.
probably.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were definitely getting blind and killed over the poisonous alcohol. And there was a market for clean alcohol. So yeah, don't drink that motor oil. You can just alcohol you can buy now in the stores, Ray. Prohibition ended decades ago, so
All
you
right.
don't
I'll
need to
put
drink
my
that motor oil.
moonshine down. Put my
Yeah. While
moonshine
you're
down.
running on your elliptical, while you're boxing, you're gonna go boxing again.
Hmm.
Beat up some beat up some people box like this.
like this.
Yeah, box in a little bag like this,
Make
a
sure
little
your
thing.
wrist twist. That's like the main goal is to twist your wrist as much as you can. Make sure the thumb is nice and
What do you call that bag that like smacks around so many
punching
times?
bag.
Oh, punching bag? No, I thought
Hmm.
punching bag with a big hanging thing on a
Oh,
chain.
that's what we
Not the
punch.
little one, not the little one. No, I'm talking about the little thing that hits the little wooden ring. And you see the guy hitting it and it
I,
really fast.
I don't know what the name of that one is.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. That
Yeah.
little punching bag.
Small punching bag hanging. It is called a boxing speedball.
Okay, speedball.
Speed
Interesting.
bag. Speedball,
Speed
speed
bag.
bag,
Okay. You
speed
never do
bag for
that?
boxing. No, I've never done that one.
Oh, okay. All right. So
All
I'm gonna
right.
make sure I'll never get on your bad end. Otherwise, you're gonna box me.
Punch you.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be back maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll be
Hopefully.
back next week.
All right.
Kevin
Y'all
will
take
prepare
care.
topics for us. If not,
Yep,
I'll
we
ask
can.
Andrew to prepare topics for us.
Okay. And then you're gonna read me those topics, right? Out
And he's
loud.
gonna come prepared, no nothing burgers, or else you're
Uh-huh.
fired. And I'm firing myself too.
Yeah. I'm gonna be unemployed.
You're gonna get a
Doubly
bad
unemployed.
360 review from me and my cats.
All right. Yeah, that cat was vicious coming in on that video feed like that. Just
Checking in on
climbed
us.
right on your face. That was
Jumped
wild. Like
up. I
how
know.
that cat was disrespecting you. Just jump on your face like that. Even my dog didn't jump on my face. He'll climb on my
Did you
lap,
say
but
your dog licks your lips? I don't want to hear it.
no, no, no. Never my lips.
Disgusting.
I turned my cheek
You
away.
said it's
He licked
happened
my
before.
like if I'm asleep and he
Yeah,
just
my cat would never. They
ambushes me.
respect me even when I'm asleep.
No, they probably licked you on your lips and you don't even notice
Ew.
because they're licking you gently and you don't wake
No.
up.
No, you can see it's literally little razors on their tongue.
So you never wake up with your lips all chapped and wondering,
Gross.
oh, yeah,
No.
that's what happened. Those cats were out going to
No.
town on your lips.
Ew,
When
stop.
you ate some bacon and you forgot about it, you forgot to wipe your lips, you went to sleep because you drank too much, you got passed out, and you wake up, oh no, there's no more bacon grease on my lips. I wonder why. The cat starts staring at
I think
you.
one of these days we need to have you talk to my friend. She's a therapist, and I want to find out what is up with you wanting to taste everything.
I think maybe my tongue is such a strong, vital organ of my well-being. Yeah. I told
Okay.
you, right? My tongue is so powerful, I can taste a 6 cents value. So whenever I go to In and Out, burgers taste so good because it's got high value, but no one. And meanwhile, if I eat $100 burger, yeah, it just doesn't taste as good
It
because
really doesn't.
not much value. So yeah, check it.
That's okay.
Tasting value. Huh? Right? Right?
Sure.
Tell me I'm not wrong. You eat a
Sure.
1 cent donut versus a dollar donut? Tell me that 1 cent donut has some extra taste to it.
It
Tell me that.
does. It
Oh
does.
yeah, 100%. But
All right. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of ADD Attention Deficit Discourse. Join us next time.